Lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bucati. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This Sunday, tune in to hear the brackets revealed first, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. This is Joshua Brisco, and Sunday at 4:30, Bushnell and Family Leisure present our Selection Sunday special on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll bring you matchups and seedings from all 4 regions of the bracket and take a special look at all the local schools to tell you where they're headed and who they'll face. It's the Selection Sunday special presented by Bushnell and Family Leisure on your home for March Madness, the Final Four, and National Championship, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Number 1 all day, every day. Kansas City's hometown radio station. 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City. Isn't this a sports show?
A couple of things. One from Brady on YouTube says, "Oh, so weird to look at you all after all this time listening on the pod." Yeah, there's a chance you've never seen us before, and this is what we look like. 3 of the 5 hottest dudes on Twitch.
Almost entirely.
Unzip for the camera, Rudy.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Now, Beards, you did say slash and not plus. Are you only playing video games in either a hoodie or pajama pants?
I'll leave that to the imagination.
I would rather you leave less to my imagination.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
I would like less imagination in this segment. I've got Beards now getting out of the bath and then Winnie the Poohing while he's playing video games on the couch. This sucks. This is a stupid, bad show, and I hate it.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
A lot of things to talk about tonight. I hope everybody's blood sugar is at a proper, healthy level. And we will talk about all of the things that have been going on in and around the Kansas City Chiefs front office, their salary cap situation, some more reports that came down the line today, some more news that came down the line today, and we'll talk about the reason that we have a show tonight. Whenever we signed off last night, I told you we'll talk to you on Monday, no AES on Friday, and that's what was true at the time that I said that. That is no longer true, because KU was slated to play here tonight on your home for Kansas Athletics, Sports Radio 810. But there's no game, because there's no more KU in the Big 12 because of a positive COVID test within the program. And this is now the world that we're navigating in. So we'll talk about all the things around that. I want to talk about, again, a couple reports from around the Chiefs today, a few more ramifications from Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz being released, some looking ahead down the line a little bit to how the Chiefs might be replacing those two. Somebody on Twitch, in fact, I'll just give the shout out to Justin the Monstar on Twitch, has already called one of our main topics today, which is the question, can we talk about the undeserved Rimmers hate? We will absolutely talk about Mike Rimmers today because that was one of the pieces of Chiefs news that brought through just one of the dumbest, just threads of kind of random, bad, uninformed takes on Twitter today. At this point, I should probably be over it. What I tweeted out, though, earlier, and I'm kind of feeling at the moment, is that this may just be the year that I finally start telling everybody how dumb I think their takes are whenever they say something just completely out of line.
How dumb are they, Josh?
Some of them are very dumb. Some of them are extremely dumb. And really, it's not even about dumb or not. It's funny, I tweeted that out earlier today, and somebody responded with, thank goodness, you're always too nice. Not ironically, they tweeted that. And I found that funny just because that doesn't get said to me all that often. I think that might be right in terms of Twitter and trying to navigate things with some tact. But what it really is at this point is It's not people who are dumb or not, or who are educated about a thing or not, or who are informed properly or not, because that's a moving target. What really frustrates me is the people who act like they know everything that's going on and that they are the voice of authority whenever they are clearly in way over their heads.
Trade up for running back.
There was some rando from, in fact, do I have the, okay, I'm going to have to call, sorry, Greg, you tweeted it, Greg, so I guess I'm going to have to mention you. There was a tweet, we're down this road already. Let me tell you, hold on. Everybody pause. By everybody, I mean me. We're going to talk about the KU stuff that happened today. Oklahoma State just advanced in the Big 12 tournament. You just heard that here on Sports Radio 810. They will play Texas tomorrow, also on Sports Radio 810. Very fun game there. A great effort from Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham is an absolute blast. And Texas will be coming off of essentially a mid-tournament bye week because they didn't have to play KU tonight because KU has been bounced from the tourney because of COVID.
Also, I think I remember when I was listening to the broadcast, I think I remember them saying this is the chance that a school from Texas has for the first time to win the Big 12 tournament?
Yes.
Because that's never happened before?
Yes, and it
That's
probably...
kind of wild to think about.
It really is, considering the number of Texas teams in the Big 12 right now. Yeah, it's crazy. Almost half the teams in the Big 12 are from Texas. It's wild. Obviously, not all of them were, founding members or whatever. But yeah, it's a crazy stat. And so Texas still has a chance, but Baylor could have guaranteed that a team from Texas would win it if Baylor would win tonight. They didn't. Oklahoma State did. Good game. Great stuff from Cade Cunningham. Excellent. But that's not where this show makes its money. You guys know that. We make our money talking about the Chiefs. And dunking on people on Twitter. Beards has made an expression that makes me nervous. It looks like you filtered something for yourself. I'm just going to let you do that. I'm not going to try to coax that out of you. I've learned over the years. But here's some of the Chiefs stuff that happened. We'll talk about KU and kind of that unfolding a little bit. Honestly, though, if you've been paying any attention, if you care about KU, you probably know the gist of it, which is COVID positive, withdrawal from the Big 12 tournament, NCAA tournament still on the table but up in the air at the moment. That's just kind of the flux that we're in right now. That's the state that we're all frozen in, and it's going to be a little bit before we really know exactly who will and won't make the trip to Indy for the tournament, and who will and won't play in those games, how they may be shorthanded or not. Just a lot of TBD in that regard. But yesterday we go through all of these. This is just an absolutely crazy day where the Chiefs cut Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. Two really excellent tackles that have been really excellent for them for half a decade. Both of them have been for that whole time. Obviously, Fisher's been here longer, but honestly, about the same time that Mitch Schwartz got to town, Fisher really settled into his own on the left side. I might not be giving him quite enough credit, but it's close enough. Last 5 years, those two dudes have been really good for the Chiefs. And they move on from both of them. There are two terrible, terrible takes that have come out of this last couple of days. One is that Patrick Mahomes is to blame for the Chiefs cutting those two guys. And we mentioned this on the show last night. Mitch Schwartz himself tweeted, "This is stupid. This is not Mahomes' fault. The cap dropped for the first time in 1,000 years in the NFL because of a pandemic. And also, Fisher at least was cut because of his Achilles rupturing in the AFC Championship game. It's cruel. It's terrible, but it's real. That's the truth of the matter. What really happened there was about injuries at least as much as it was about the salary cap. A little bit of both, absolutely. How does the scale balance? For Fisher, I think his fate was sealed whenever he tore his Achilles, which is, again, cruel, but just also accurate for a cruel business. Schwartz, a little bit hard to tell at this point. Not totally sure if he wants to keep playing or not. It seems like most of the things he said publicly have indicated that he does want to play. I can say with a little bit of confidence, not necessarily confidence, with a little bit of information that I've heard about there being smoke around him just wanting to retire and move on to the next stage of his career and his life and everything, that I wonder if there's a little fire there. I don't know. Neither thing would shock me, at least. Let me at least say it that way with Mitch Schwartz. Him retiring would not shock me. Him trying to go play for, a contender on a 1-year deal to try to get back into it would not shock me. The only thing that would shock me is ultimately the Chiefs taking running back in the first round. That will eventually shock me.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Did that.
It's going to shock. I mean, I'm just saying it's going to shock. Ultimately, that move is going to be a thing that shocks me.
You mean you don't think they've done it yet?
No, I mean, because they did it, I will ultimately become shocked whenever Seth comes to town with the taser next.
Oh, I thought you were trying to block that from your memory.
No, I can't. I have tried. I just can't do it. Mizzou's also about to get bounced from the SEC tournament by Arkansas, just FYI. In fact, the game is over. Mizzou out, Arkansas advances. They'll be in the tournament. They'll be fine. But kind of a frustrating loss there. It was really close for a while. Anyway. Wouldn't be shocked if Schwartz retires. Wouldn't be shocked if he keeps playing. Wouldn't be shocked if Fisher takes, 8-10 weeks and into the season, that is, gets healthy and tries to make a comeback somewhere. Wouldn't shock me if he doesn't have a great market because we don't know what his health's going to be. But I think ultimately he'll be healthy. There'll be a team that could use some tackle help. That team could be the Chiefs. It would just, I wouldn't bet on that because I just don't really think that's typically how those moves go. But, I digress. Those moves happened yesterday, though. Ripples throughout the Chiefs' offseason, right? They free up about $18 million with those two moves, but also they free up their 2 starting tackles from these last 5 years. It's a big move. It's a big change. Well, today, these reports come out. I think this one was Rappaport first, tweeting, note on the Chiefs' offensive line that lost its 2 tackles. They've been in discussions recently about bringing back offensive tackle Mike Rimmers, source said. He thrived at right tackle before moving to the left side out of necessity in the Super Bowl. Should have a market, but KC hopes for a return. A different version of that was just aggregated by Pro Football Talk, and then the aforementioned Greg A. Bedard, founder, editorial director of BostonSportsJournal.com, quote tweeted the Pro Football Talk tweet saying, report, Chiefs have engaged in discussions to re-sign Mike Rimmers. He quote tweeted that with, why? 4 characters, W-H-Y, question mark. Why? My name is Greg, and I watched the Super Bowl. Why would they re-sign Mike Rimmers? Why? He is clearly unfit for service in the NFL. I'm the editorial director of BostonSportsJournal.com, and my name is Greg. I use my middle initial on Twitter. My initials spell the word gab. Greg. And here's the answer, by the way, Greg and everyone else. And this is sort of the thing that Justin on Twitch honestly derailed this right towards, because we had a lot of different ways we could have gone, but I very much wanted to talk about this and still want to talk about this. The answer why is because I didn't only watch the Super Bowl, and you, dear listener, didn't either. This one is not complicated. This one is not difficult. I thought that unless the Chiefs really, really, really thought, genuinely believed that Eric Fisher and Mitch Schwartz would be healthy week 1 and that they really liked Lucas Niang, that they should bring back Mike Rimmers. They have obviously now cut Fisher and Schwartz. Bringing back Mike Rimmers is, I think, ultimately, depending on what his number ends up being, one of the most obvious moves they could make this offseason. Now, if he gets way, outbid on the open market, you're probably not going to be able to make it happen, whatever, fine, I understand that. But if your lasting memories of the Super Bowl, you're really doing yourself a disservice just in terms of showing the world how long your memory is. If your lasting impression of Mike Rimmers is him getting whooped at left tackle in the Super Bowl, I understand if that's your strongest Mike Rimmers memory, but it sure as hell shouldn't be your only one. The Chiefs lost their best offensive lineman and maybe one of their four most important offensive players, Mitch Schwartz, in week 5 of the NFL season. Or week 6, week 5, one of them, very early in the year. Bills game. And the offense essentially didn't miss a beat. It wasn't perfect. He wasn't as good as Mitch Schwartz. But at the absolute very least, Mike Rimmers kept what could have been a devastating injury down to one that just sort of, I don't know, hampered them a little bit. Made them change up some things on the offensive line. Maybe put Andrew Wiley, had him helping out a little more often than he should have needed to. Maybe had Andrew Wiley then having to work to the right a little more than he would have if Schwartz was there because of where Wiley, or maybe left Ryder on an island more because Wiley was helping Rimmers more. I'm sure there were little adjustments they had to make. But it wasn't, like, remember whenever Rimmers got hurt and then all of a sudden Yasir Durant was out there for a handful of snaps? You guys remember Cam Irving? Like the worst times of Cam Irving? Mike Rimmers came in and replaced the Chiefs' best offensive lineman at right tackle. And there were stretches of time when, at least just over the course of a game, you would forget that move had ever needed to happen. That's really valuable. The lesson that most people paying attention took away from the Super Bowl was, well, the Chiefs really need to not have 1,000 injuries on their offensive line, and depth is really important. There aren't a lot of NFL offensive tackles who are better at depth than Mike Rimmers. That is a valuable category. He's not Eric Fisher. He's not Mitch Schwartz. He's not Trent Williams. But man, that dude's got value, especially at both guard spots and right tackle. He can step in at any of those places. He was playing guard at the beginning of the Bills game. I have to try to work all this around so the Chiefs lost. I could just pull this up, but I think Osemele went down in the Raiders game that they ultimately lost, which I think maybe that was week 5. So maybe the Bills game was week 6. I'm gonna get this figured out. I'm on it. I'm on this like a dog with a bone. Is that the phrase?
Yes.
I don't know. Why is that the phrase?
Because dogs like bones.
But the dog already has the bone.
But he's chewing on it.
I think it's more of like I'm like a dog with a bone. Maybe it's like I'm a dog.
He's focused on it.
After a bone. With is like the search of it. Anyway, we stalled long enough for me to find the answers. Bills game was week 6, so they lost to the Raiders in week 5. They had a Mitch Schwartz essentially for 5 weeks. They lose Osemele in the Raiders game. And then Rimmers comes in, and Rimmers starts the Bills game at guard. But then Schwartz goes out, and so Rimmers moves out, and then Allegretti comes in. And then from that point forward, Mike Rimmers was a really important part of this offensive line. I understand if you are a Chiefs fan listening to me right now, right? Which I imagine most of you are, statistically speaking. If you're a Chiefs fan, and you're worried about the Chiefs' offensive line, you're a human being with an attention span. You should be a little worried about the Chiefs' offensive line. If the season started today, the Chiefs would be well worse off than they were at the beginning of last year because of how much worse off their offensive line is than it was at the beginning of last year. It's not much worse than it was at the end of last year, but it probably is actually worse because of the pending free agents and whatnot. It actually definitely is because they don't have a center if they don't bring back Austin Ryder, as was reported yesterday. So, if you're just nervous about the line as a whole, that's fine. But if you have the gerbil brain to say, oh, the Chiefs have cut all their offensive linemen and now they're going to sign Mike Rimmers, so they must be planning on having Mike Rimmers start at left tackle week 1. Then you do suffer from gerbil brain, and you should speak to your doctor. It's a serious condition that requires a serious tone and a serious evaluation. I care about you. And I need you to have a better attention span, Greg. Or anybody. Having Mike Rimmers is just better for the offense. He is the sixth man of the year type of guy on an offensive line. There is legitimate value. Beards, quick, give me an NBA sixth man, like a quintessential sixth man. Or like, whenever you think sixth man NBA bench, you think of
Manu Ginobili.
If Manu Ginobili is your best player, you're probably not very good. Fair?
Fair.
If he is your sixth man, you're in great shape.
Then you're the Spurs.
Then you're the Spurs. Can I get a little more modern and a little worse than Manu?
Jamal Crawford.
If Jamal
He's
Crawford,
near the end of his career, but Jamal Crawford.
If Jamal Crawford is your best player,
or Lou Williams.
He's won it multiple times, right? Isn't that his thing?
Those two are probably one of the most.
Okay. If Lou Williams or Jamal Crawford are your best NBA player on your NBA team, was Lou Williams up higher in the rotation somewhere at one point? Like early in his career?
No.
Maybe not. Okay.
He's pretty much always been a bench guy.
I feel like there was somebody. All right, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to stay with Lou Williams. If that's your best player, you're in trouble. If he's your first guy off the bench, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. That's where Mike Rimmers is at. And on the offensive line, I'm talking about a five-man offensive line rotation, and depending on who gets hurt and how things get scooted around, that moves the efficacy of a given player. I get that. Not apples to apples. But if it's apples to oranges, at least they're both, sweet fruit that are round. They're comparable enough. The Chiefs don't think Mike Rimmers is going to be their day one starting left tackle any more than they think that Martinez Rankin or Yasir Durant are going to be. That's why I said this last night, and I've tweeted this, and I've said this everywhere at this point. I will be not shocked, but surprised. I will be surprised if the Chiefs go into draft night and they're on the depth chart at that moment, their starting left tackle is Martinez Rankin or Yasir Durant or Mike Rimmers at this point. I'll be really surprised because that puts them behind the eight ball and they have to find a left tackle in the draft, which almost certainly means with their first round pick. And if there's a run, well, now you're picking from your fifth or sixth option instead of your fourth or fifth. You're picking from 6 or 7 instead of 3 or 4. More than 3 or 4 going to go before that. But maybe now you see a run start sooner than you expected it, and you're panicking. Oh, God, do we trade next year's first to go up and make sure we get this tackle that we like? You could do that, but now you're mortgaging your future to go do that because you weren't prepared for that situation. We've also seen the Chiefs invest in their tackle position with Brett Veach's GM multiple times, and really with Andy Reid multiple times. With Veach, I guess not necessarily in an active way, but he's continued to have expensive tackles. They could buck that trend this year. I don't expect them to, though. I think that even if it's true that they really like Lucas Niang, you're not going to go into week 1 with 0 NFL snaps at your 2 starting tackle positions. I just think it's really unlikely. I think there's going to be somebody, probably not Trent Williams, but probably a guy who comes in for a 1-year deal for $8 million or something. And then whoever you draft at 31 can compete with Niang at right tackle. Whoever loses that job can play guard, or they can be the swing tackle, and Rimmers can play guard. You can have some real competition there with some really capable players. That's like the worst case scenarios. You just have too many capable players that are versatile. All right, that sounds pretty good. And war of attrition, eventually you're probably going to need that dude to step in somewhere or other. And if you're at that spot then where you are saying, you know what, we love Lucas Niang and we love Liam Eichenberg, who's probably going to be there at 31. We love those two dudes.
That's a name.
It is. It's a strong name. We love those two guys. We're going into week 1 with 0 NFL snaps to our starting tackle spots, but we love Alex Leatherwood. Another good name. There's some good offensive line names this year. We love Alex Leatherwood, and we love Lucas Niang. But they've got no career snaps in the NFL. But those are our starters going into week 1. If they go that direction, do you know who's really important? NFL veteran offensive lineman Mike Remmers, Greg. Like, that is exactly where those dudes get even more valuable. So, look, I mean, if I don't know how to explain. Frankly, at this point, I'm probably largely preaching to the choir. I'm probably largely preaching to people who understand this already. But it's not too soon to worry and wonder about the Chiefs' offensive line. I personally am more wondering than worrying, but I get it. It is too soon to panic about Mike Remmers starting at left tackle for 16, maybe 17 games.
But did you see him in the Super Bowl?
I did, and it was rough, which is why he's not going to be the starting left tackle next year. If he's the starting left tackle next year, I'll be shocked, metaphorically only.
You want to make that bet again?
Nope. Sure don't. There's a Facebook comment that said Fisher is and was the worst left tackle ever as Mahomes. I don't know what that means, but Facebook commenter gently, I will tell you. I mean, if what you're getting at is what it seems like you're getting at there, it's just not true.
It's Victor, by the way.
Thank you for the comment, Victor. I may have misunderstood your comment. I don't know. But Eric Fisher made the offense better. Period. Easy. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to reset those edges, but that's the process of the offseason. Lots of questions about AES bracket and whatnot. I do think right now our leader in the clubhouse is to do some sort of Pokemon bracket. And then I also think we will very likely do a almost entirely sports-like bracket challenge. I also think we're going to have an 8-10 bracket challenge. We might just direct everyone to that this year. Because in years past, I think we've gotten ours going before the 8-10 one, but I got an email about the 8-10 one today. So we might be able to get that all pointed in the right direction. We'll see. We could do both as well. But we will definitely do that at some point. Somebody also, Chaotic Warrior asked, are we going original 151 or like 300 or like all of the Pokemon in this bracket? That's something that we'll have to figure out. Rudy is out babysitting again as he has a new niece who I'm not going to say the name of because I don't think it actually have officially named the baby yet. And I'm not going to be the one that breaks that news. We'll let Rudy mention it. We'll talk to him about it on Monday.
Its name is Alex Leatherwood.
They've named this sweet baby girl Alex Leatherwood. They've named her Liam Eichenberg Leatherwood.
Remmers.
That's really good.
The third.
Bartman KC on Twitch said Vish didn't make that cut without knowing Orlando Brown is coming here. I'm glad that Orlando Brown got mentioned. I think we talked about him a little bit last night. But this is not really this isn't really specific to Orlando Brown. This is more of a general sort of philosophy that actually most recently would apply to Frank Clark and his acquisition. There are definitely going to be exceptions to this, but just sort of as a baseline for me, it makes me a little bit uneasy whenever teams trade for someone with great draft capital and then give them a large deal. Because it sets you up to pay the most possible for one given player, which means their like relative value can only go so high, right? It is capped at some point because you've given up so much for them. This is not about spending money. The Chiefs' free agent signing of Tyrann Mathieu, who, by the way, I think we're going to get news on an extension for him relatively soon. A bunch of the safeties were tweeting about seeing good news today, and the news never actually came on the Matthew front. I don't know that's what they were tweeting about. I expect that to come this offseason. But the free agent signing of Tyrann Mathieu was outrageously good for the Chiefs, right? Spectacular. Paying Chris Jones, who they drafted in the second round many years ago, had him on his rookie deal for a while, and then now they're paying him. Good value, money well spent, in my opinion. Mitchell Schwartz, good free agent signing. Extending Eric Fisher after his rookie deal, good money well spent there as well. You want to talk about moving up for draft assets? Trading up for Patrick Mahomes worked, in my humble opinion. Good use of spending your draft assets to go get somebody that you want. The Chiefs' other trade-up situations have not been good enough to use in this example. But for Frank Clark, if they would have traded a second-round pick to move up and then draft Frank Clark in the first round, and now he was on a rookie deal right now, I think we would generally talk about his performance on a much higher level because he would not be the highest paid player on the roster this year. If the Chiefs would not have had to have traded any draft picks for Frank Clark, if they would have just signed him in free agency to the same deal, we would still have some criticisms given the amount of money he's making, but there would also be an extra first and second round player on this roster somewhere that would probably be taking some pressure off of him, and his ultimate acquisition cost would be significantly lower. So for a guy like Orlando Brown, whenever you know you're going to have to give that dude a big new contract after you give up draft assets to go get him, you absolutely must get that call exactly right. You cannot, you can't even get 80% of what you're expecting whenever you give up that much, because draft picks and salary cap space are sort of the yin and yang of team building. You do well in the draft, and you've got these guys at a great value, and then you can spend money in free agency or extend those guys later on because you've got the cap space because a lot of your guys are coming in at a great rookie contract value. Or if you're spending money on stars in free agency, you need to hit your draft picks to fill in the holes around them. But if you're doubling down, you really need to get 100% of your expectations from anyone that you trade for and then extend. It is a hefty price to pay for anybody. And so specifically for Orlando Brown, he would make the Chiefs offense better, and maybe I'm thinking about it too hard and everything, right? I get it. But, let's just say they make him one of the few highest paid tackles in football, and it costs them a first round pick. That costs them number 31 overall. Well, that's good for the 2021 Chiefs, but now you have lost that rookie asset. You've lost that cap space. And if Orlando Brown gets hurt, which just happens to dudes, if he underperforms, which just happens sometimes, now you're really finding yourself in a pinch where you're going to have to find extreme value elsewhere very soon. Conversely, if you really do like one of these dudes at 31, and you could have him and Lucas Niang be your starting tackles for the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to get one of the greatest value bargains in the sport. We'll talk to Jordan Foote about that at 10 tonight because he's gotten super deep into the evaluation of all those guys. But that's probably the smarter bet in my mind. And honestly, again, you pay Trent Williams, you outbid everybody else in free agency, but you make that happen. Well, now you've got that first round pick where you're going to have somebody at a rookie contract value for the next 5 years with a 5th-year option if you want it. Over the years, that's sort of a preference I've developed. Not a hard and fast rule. There will always be exceptions, but it's something I think about whenever we look at kind of the way that teams can structure their rosters. And I think that I'm not really worried about paying stars, nor am I worried about trading assets to get players. I get a little bit nervous about doing both at the same time. Because you've essentially taken one egg from each basket and put it into a smaller one. I hope that makes sense. I think it probably does to most people. But it's a hesitation, maybe more than anything else. It's a hesitation that I have that gives me a little bit of pause in a conversation about a guy like Orlando Brown. I also don't know if the Ravens are going to want to trade Orlando Brown to the Chiefs. Even if they charge a little bit of a premium, it would probably be easier to just send him to the NFC and get pretty much the same stuff. Also, you have to remember, the Chiefs are picking 31. So the difference between the Chiefs' first-round pick and then, some bottom 10 team's second-round pick, not enormous. Something else to keep in mind there. Let's take a break. We'll talk to Matt Verderame about all of these things here in 30 minutes. In 90 minutes, we'll talk to Jordan Foote of Arrowhead Report, as he's done a crazy. He's in the midst right now of a crazy series where he is reviewing a player every single day for 100 days leading up to the draft. It's one of the most bonkers things that I've seen. It should be sponsored by Red Bull. Like, he may as well be doing it from the space station at this point. It's bonkers. I'll also check out a bunch of Twitch comments over the course of the commercial break. I'm back in studio, so you can watch the show on Twitch. And I can't see here, the subscription icons and everything. But as a reminder, if you have Amazon Prime, you can use your free monthly sub on the Sports Radio 810 Twitch. Some of you have done that already. I appreciate it very much. It's also great for us. Looks good. Look at us. Look at us shooting up the Twitch rankings. Love that. So you can leave your comments on any of the video feeds. We'll see them. I'll check some out during the break. Also, we'll talk a little bit about all of the college basketball chaos that's been going on. It's crazy because if we were exclusively talking about college basketball, we would have enough material to work through, a full show, which actually will be the case Saturday and Sunday. I got 2 shows that are exclusively college basketball Saturday and Sunday here on Sports Radio 810. So if you want your college basketball fix from me, just wait. It's coming. But we've had so many things going on from the Chiefs side of things with KU football and KU athletics. That's been a mess. And obviously the Big 12 tournament is going on just across the street over at the T-Mobile Center where I broadcasted from the last couple of shows. Also, Hoop Central still going on tomorrow, still going on. Wrapped up for the night now because there's no second game today. But if you want to go back out to KCP&L for the Big 12 championship game, you know what I did today after I did my my little drop-in on the program? I went into McFadden's, and I had the onion bacon burger. It's a good burger. Enjoy the burger. You can go check out all the festivities that are going on out there as well. And we've got all sorts of coverage all weekend long, not just of the Big 12 tournament, but championship week across the country and Selection Sunday. Then we're going to have all sorts of coverage of the NCAA tournament here on Sports Radio 810 as well. It's brought to you by Creative Planning, a nationally recognized Kansas City wealth manager. Go to creativeplanning.com for more information.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
There's nothing like the sounds of your son learning to dribble, or the sounds of your daughter learning to tap dance. A local family-owned hardwood flooring specialist company wants to help you remember these sounds for the rest of your life with a quality wood floor. Acme Floor has been in business for almost 100 years and is so entrusted with its workmanship and quality of materials that KU and MU called them to build their wood basketball courts. You may not be looking for a basketball court, but Acme Floor can help you create the sounds and look you want in your home. From the floor at the Nelson Atkins Block Building, UMKC Swinney Rec, the stages at the Kauffman Center, to your kitchen. No project is too big and no budget is too small. If you're looking at laying a new floor, refinish or resurface your hardwood floors, why not call the best? Give Acme Floor Company a call at 913-888-3200. Acme Floor Company works with both residential and commercial customers. Go by their Lenexa showroom at 10100 Marshall Drive. 4-generation family-owned and operated.
Hey, Kansas City, Soren Petro here. With riding season coming up quick, this is the perfect time for you to talk with my guys at Worth Harley Davidson. They have a pair of options to help you buy that new Harley of your dreams. Choose 0% interest for up to 72 months or choose full retail book value for your trade. The experts at Worth Harley Davidson will show you both options so you can decide what is best. Shop the inventory online, then come in to make your choice. 0% or retail value for your trade. Worth Harley Davidson, I-29, just south of the airport. Not all buyers qualify, see dealer for details.
Hey, Kansas City, spring training isn't just for baseball players. You can lose those pandemic pounds and get into shape before the warmer weather hits, since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then, NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet and workout regimen to help you keep it off. Don't want to do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You'll be fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you're burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet offers live online video consultations, and they have a location right off 435, off the corner of College and Metcalf. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. Or go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
Championship Barbecue is now available at your fingertips with the new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue online ordering app. Place your order for the legendary Z-Man or Rocket Pig sandwiches, slabs of ribs, or a burn-end dinner right now. It's just a few clicks from your smartphone, and your order will be hot and ready for curbside pickup. The new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue app is perfect for a weeknight dinner with a family or feeding your entire office. So don't wait. Download the brand new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue app today.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Let's go ahead and test that. Okay, ready?
Sure.
I'm going to say the name, and you're going to hit the beep button as we get ready.
Cool.
Colin Kaepernick. What did you think that was going to... How did you think that was going to work, my dude?
With Joshua Brisco.
Here, let's do it again. This time you can do it first, and we'll see how it goes. Ready? Okay. Colin Kaepernick. You still heard me say it. It's also with a beep. You dope. You fool.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Bunch of Chiefs things in a moment, but Joel Embiid is apparently, or he's gotten up now, but he went down holding his knee after apparently landing awkwardly, hyperextending his knee after a dunk. Michael Pena has tweeted they're bringing out a stretcher, but he's standing and walking back to the locker room. Sometimes the awkward-looking knee landings end up just being a little hyperextension and not a huge deal, but something to keep an eye on here.
Especially for a guy that's had injuries.
Yeah.
Not great.
It is his left knee. Was it ever a left knee?
I don't remember. I think it was more back and feet.
That's what I was thinking also. Obviously, definitely back, and I remember the foot issue. Embiid's now up on his feet under his own power. It looks like he was saying, I'm all right, but hard to tell. He's now walking off the court to the locker room with a fairly heavy limp. So something to keep an eye on there. Obviously not great. A few things from the Twitch. There were a few good comments that were happening over the course of the last segment about this whole topic that I wanted to highlight. One from Chaotic Warriors said, Josh, you're much more animated today than the last couple. And I had the thought of like, well, what was wrong with me the last couple of shows? I felt like we did pretty good shows the last couple of nights and that I was pretty animated. At one point I was walking around. Oh, yeah, the last couple of shows on the Twitch, I've been literally a two-dimensional face stuck onto a snowman.
I'd say you're less animated now. Because you're not a cartoon.
I'm more mobile, but I am less of an animation. Yeah, that's fair. There was a question from Bartman. Do the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Frank Clark? Probably not. I think Veach will go broke for the next 2-year window to try and land another ring. This is a hashtag discourse that has come up on Twitter a couple of times. I think they do. You get a couple of big moments from Frank Clark. It's really hard to tell confidently if someone else achieves those moments, if they're in that spot instead of Clark. Hard to tell if whoever they, let's say, because it's not a one in, one out. If they don't trade for Frank Clark, what do they do with that money in those draft picks? Does that make their defense as much better as Frank Clark did? I mean, I would hope so. It's a tricky thing to navigate that I hate to be too definitive about, partially just because, and this is not the case for the Twitch chat that has brought this up and everything. This is more a Twitter thing, but the specifics of that conversation to me have gotten really toxic and really also kind of diluted in a way that's just like there's there's very little solid ground to stand on that someone isn't going to immediately start picking up and throwing the mud that they're standing on at you for. It's just, it's not a conversation I've enjoyed having very much. But yeah, I mean, I think we have big moments that we remember. I think also the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Frank Clark. And that doesn't mean that the signing didn't have merit. But I also don't think that, like, ring is a proper counter-argument to some reasonable critiques either. So I think it's multifaceted. It's a totally fair question, though.
But rings!
Yeah, fair. To my point earlier, Ispyro on the chat said Laramie Tunsil has entered the chat. I think Laramie Tunsil is kind of what spooks me a little bit. Where honestly, I don't even really think he's been bad in Houston. He's just been in Houston, you know? And so now they've lost these draft picks, and he's been very expensive.
Can we please? It would be funny.
Just specifically Laramie Tunsil, you mean?
Yes, it would
sure,
be funny.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we can revisit the draft day video or picture that kept coming up.
I think it was a video.
I think you're right. I
gas
just remember
mask bong if you weren't paying attention.
It was,
yeah.
Gosh, it was so funny.
Bartman says move Dirty Dan to left tackle. Problem solved.
Trade for George Kittle. He can block. Trade Travis Kelce for George Kittle. We need blocking now.
Trade Travis Kelce for George Kittle. Have Kittle play left tackle. Boom. Checkmate. But something as I don't only read the comments that immediately, agree with me in every turn. Because Chaotic Warrior mentions he's 24. And that is a good thing to bring up with Orlando Brown. Beards was mouthing the word who? Orlando Brown is 24. And I do think that changes the math on him some in two ways. Conversely, Trent Williams, who's going to make a bleep ton of money on the open market here in this free agency, he's 32. He would not make the Chiefs younger at tackle. Even though everyone agrees that he is an excellent, excellent player, he wouldn't make the Chiefs younger. He'd make them better, but not younger at tackle, which is something that I think you should be thinking about whenever you're trying to plan out, 5, 6, to maybe a decade in the future. Orlando Brown, though, being 24, definitely does play into it. Here's the reason that it changes the math in two ways. One is that it makes him a more valuable asset for a team that does want to get younger at the position. It makes him a more long-term adequate target as opposed to just a short-term patch-up thing. And it also would make me more comfortable, going and getting Orlando Brown at the expense of drafting a left tackle that you really like at 31 or whatever, maybe even moving up for one. And so if you could get Orlando Brown for your first and your third or something, I could see that argument would be in place in a way that I'd feel pretty good about, I think, while also still being nervous for all of the reasons that I laid out last segment. Again, there are exceptions all over this space. He'll be 25 whenever the season starts. But the other thing, though, that changes in terms of the math is that it makes him an even more valuable asset. He's not a tackle at the end of his career who's making a stink on a crummy team trying to go get to a contender. He is on a contender, and he is young, and he is excellent. So he's going to be expensive.
So I'm sure other people know, but I do not know why Orlando Brown is wanting out of Baltimore.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a...
I vaguely pay attention to the NFL.
Sure. It's a little bit of a... this is something also that I'll bring up with Matt Verderame. Every time I Google Orlando Brown, I was going to try to get a specific quote. Every time I Google Orlando Brown, it goes to the actor from That's So Raven.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I just had a great visual image of him trying to play tackle.
Him successfully playing tackle, I hope you mean. Weird. Hold on. This is kind of odd.
Now, do you have Raven as the offensive defensive coordinator because she's got the future sight thing?
Yes. Also, where does Orlando Brown play?
I said Baltimore, didn't I?
That's So Baltimore Raven. Hold on. He simply cannot be traded.
Oh.
It's too perfect. This is kind of interesting. The Ravens official website has a story headlined 6 teams reportedly interested in trading for Orlando Brown Jr., which because teams all have their own like media arm at this point, but it's just sort of interesting. They wrote this story based on Mike Garafolo report. I was gonna see where Orlando Brown made his most recent statement here. It's like it says whenever he made his last statement. I was going to try to give you a trade. Anyway, a quote. Anyway, the tweet from Mike Garafolo is, all parties involved seem confident a deal will get done to send Brown elsewhere for his fourth NFL season. Again, quoted on the Ravens website, which is at least a little bit weird. So it says, oh, okay. I forgot about this part also. Brown, who went to the Pro Bowl in 2019 after starting all 16 games at right tackle, has made it clear that he wants to be traded to a team where he will play left tackle, the position he played throughout his childhood and in college at Oklahoma. When All-Pro left tackle Ronnie Staley suffered a season-ending ankle injury in Week 8 last year, Brown took over the position and was again voted to the Pro Bowl. General Manager Eric DeCosta said earlier this week that he's had some discussions with Brown and his agents, but there's currently no timetable for a trade. It's kind of an interesting specific bone to pick, saying like, "Hi, I would like to play. I'd like to go play for a team that will let me play left tackle where I'll make more money." I would assume. I also think that it's unlikely that the Ravens are excited about giving him a long-term deal. I don't know if it's a "you can't fire me, I quit" kind of thing in some regard, but yeah, that was one element of it. Let me see if I can find. Here we go. Here's a quote from Orlando Brown. It was left tackle. That's all you're ever playing, and that's all we ever worked on, Brown said of his father's advice and tutelage. I'm better at left tackle. It's what I've dreamed about being my whole life. We all have dreams, and we get put in positions where we have an opportunity to upgrade. That's it for me. It's a lot more emotional or spiritual for me, I guess you could say, playing left tackle. And so then he has since requested a trade. It's a very unique situation in that regard. Not a lot of dudes, I feel like, demand trades or request trades because they feel like the other side of the field is a more spiritual fit for them. But if it ends up with Orlando Brown in Kansas City at a decent price, then I'll be glad for it.
I remember, I think it was when Jimmy Graham was on the Saints, and he had one free agency season or whatever where he kept yelling that he was a wide receiver and not a tight end. Because he wanted to make more money as a wide receiver for the franchise tag.
That's okay. I was going to say, I think that was a franchise tag thing.
And yeah. So I don't know why that's just stuck in my memory all these years, but it just had that trigger.
And then Chaotic Warrior mentioned, as I finally got to there from the Ravens site, where he's talking about his dad. That it was like a connection with his dad, who always was saying, "You'll be a left tackle, or you should be a left tackle." And then I think his dad. Well, okay. Chaotic Warrior had already. His dad passed in 2011. I thought it was more recent. I don't know, but. There's your little bit of a backstory on that. Again, I'd be very happy if he ends up on the Chiefs roster, much like I talked about whenever the Chiefs traded for Frank Clark. I said I'd be glad I'm glad that Frank Clark is on the Chiefs roster. The value once that eventually hits will ultimately be a mandatory factor in determining if that move is a positive one or not, or how much of a positive move it is or not. I do think the Chiefs have a plan, though. I think Veach has a plan. There's not an incredibly deep free agent market in terms of guys who are truly excellent, like franchise left tackles. Orlando Brown is available, though not a free agent. Would not shock me. Would not shock me to see them invest there. And maybe it's a dude like a vet on a one-year deal who comes in, they draft someone at 31. Something we'll talk about way more in depth with Matt Verderame in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, though, we got to take a break. More Chiefs offensive line talk, more of the things going around. Also, more news from the Chiefs earlier today. We'll talk about that whenever we come back.
At JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Jeff Briggs with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Dodge Power Days roll into March, and it's just in time for tax return season. At Victory, you choose between a new Dodge Journey or a new 2021 Jeep Renegade and get $3,000 over Kelley Blue Book for any trade-in. Folks, it's this simple. Drive in, provide your trade information, and add $3,000 to whatever Kelley Blue Book says it's worth, and let's do business. Visit us at VictoryMotorsKC.com, where our first price is better than their last.
Find your style with Patriot Lighting and save with 11% off everything now at Menards. Patriot Lighting ceiling fans reduce energy costs all year round. We carry a great selection of styles and finishes, so you're sure to find the look that's right for you. Get 11% off everything for your home right now at Menards. Good through Saturday, March 13th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
If you could create your dream engagement ring, what would it look like? Come to Shane Company and let us help you bring your vision to life. You'll be delighted when you see our selection of unique ring settings, designed in-house and meticulously crafted to look beautiful from every angle, in platinum, yellow gold, white gold, and our signature shade of rose gold. In addition to the classics, we have trending styles, stunning halo designs, including popular hidden halos, elegant floral rings, intricate vintage looks, Art Deco designs, and more. For your center stone, choose a sparkling diamond in your favorite shape, or perhaps a vibrant ruby or colorful sapphire. Our sapphires come in over a dozen colors, like cognac, raspberry, and blue-green. All our stones are natural, ethically sourced, and hand-picked for their beauty. We can't wait to help you bring your vision to life. This ring represents your love story. Why not make it perfect?
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Won't you come along with me? Come out to jazz with me.
Laissez le bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. That's what we do at Jazz. Papa Vic here to tell you about what's happening at your favorite restaurant, Jazz, a Louisiana kitchen. Economy got you down? You don't need a fat wall at Jazz. Come enjoy our succulent home cooking, Cajun cuisine anytime. Come in and let Jazz cook for you. We've partnered with Proactive Protect to provide nanotechnology protection that sanitizes all our tables, chairs, and the interior of the restaurant. So come on in. Not comfortable coming in? Check out our website, jazzkitchens.com, and place your order online or through Menufy. Check out our dedicated curbside parking spots, and we'll bring the taste of New Orleans to your car. 3 locations, the original at 39th and State Line, and at Legends of Village West, our newest location in Independence at I-70 and 291, just east of the Cable Dahmer Arena. Jazz. All that and a bowl of gumbo, too.
Say, Pop, you sure dig jazz.
Jazz.
Yeah.
Where there's always a party every night.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
I welcome your silliness and I refuse your illogical nature. Shut up, chicken! Chicken! Swear to chicken.
With Joshua Brisco.
I don't care about the first 3 weeks of next year. The playoffs are so much more important. I can't believe you don't even know what a Haglund's deformity is. I'm glad you're a dead chicken. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I just saw the Joel Embiid video, and I'm still my face is still kind of scrunchy. You know, your face gets kind of scrunchy whenever you see an injury video.
Oh, I know. I did it last segment.
It just takes me a while to you can, if you look at my body language on the Twitch right now, I'm just this is just sort of the spot. My arm is on my head for some reason. I don't know. It's uncomfy. I don't care for it.
Not great.
I don't like it. There was some conversation in the Twitch chat about the next stimulus check coming in, and Beards, you said you had checked your account and saw that yours was pending.
Yeah.
How are you feeling right now about your responsibility levels and what you may do with your new stimmy check?
I mean, listen. Should I be responsible? And because there are things that we're trying to save up for. Yes. Would an Xbox Series X look very nice?
Beards,
on
listen.
my television stand?
Beards, listen
Also,
here.
yes.
Listen here. First of all, a house is not a home without an Xbox. You know this.
That is true.
Second of all, it is your American duty to get that money back into the economy. Go get yourself an Xbox Series X, Beards. Let me be the devil on your shoulder.
The issue of finding one, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, that you can cross that bridge when you get there. Let me be the devil on your shoulder.
I might have to cross the bridge to go find one.
Also fair. I will tell you, go be irresponsible. I mean, do your American duty. Go get an Xbox Series X.
Duty.
The new Switch Pro, whatever it's gonna. Actually, I saw in one place the rumors that it was gonna be called a Super Nintendo Switch Pro or a Super Nintendo Switch, which is very clever. We'll see whenever that hits the shelves.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Car enthusiasts looking for the best place to store and show off your car? Check out the Casey Underground, Kansas City's car collection. Casey Underground is part of the Kansas City Automotive Museum and provides a safe place to store your vehicle with 24-hour monitoring while sharing its history. Call today to reserve a spot underground for your car. Use the promo code 810 and you'll receive a 10% discount. Go to thecaseyunderground.com or call 816-492-7147 and mention 810-WHB. If you can see the skyline, the Casey Underground is just moments away.
Rick Edelman, #1 New York Times bestselling author and founder of Edelman Financial Engines, takes questions on his hit radio show. Let's listen to Rick help a caller who's saving for retirement.
Hey, Rick, how can I keep my retirement money safe?
By taking some risk. That sounds weird, I know, but when it comes to saving for retirement, if you try to keep your money safe, you're actually taking big risks. Savings accounts, well, they're not safe from inflation. They're not safe from taxes. There are, in fact, 18 different asset classes, and they all have different risks. So spread your money around, so no one thing can wipe you out. It's like having 12 eggs in 12 baskets. Diversification helps you manage your risk while still giving you the opportunities provided by the financial markets.
That was award-winning radio host Rick Edelman. Get help diversifying your portfolio from one of our financial planners by calling 888-PLAN-RICK or visit rickedelman.com.
March Madness is back, and so is Sports Radio 810's Bracket Challenge. Go to 810WHB.com and click on the Bracket Challenge icon to get signed up today. You can win great prizes from Hy-Vee, 23rd Street Brewery, and a $500 gift card to Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. Head to 810WHB.com and click on the Bracket Challenge icon to get signed up. Then pick your teams and sit back and enjoy the madness. Brought to you by CBD American Shaman, 23rd Street Brewery, Hy-Vee Plus, and Xfinity Mobile.
Companies often tell you the values they observe, like integrity, honesty, and respect. But what if they didn't have to tell you? What if you could just see it in the way they did business, or feel it in the way you were treated? Sounds nice. We agree. So when we tell you that Intrust Bank is founded on timeless values and that they still guide the way we serve our customers, we don't expect you to believe us. But we do hope you let us show you. That's tradition for today. That's Intrust Bank.
They say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes the situation is just plain ugly. Divorce, repairs, overwhelmed, taxes. If you're in an ugly house or an ugly situation, call the Ugly House guys today. 1-800-44-BUYER or WeBuyUglyHouses.com. We can help you fix that ugly situation and turn it into beautiful cash. That's 1-800-44-BUYER or WeBuyUglyHouses.com. We're the real Ugly House guys.
Hey everyone, it's Tim Grunhart. You know I've been around Kansas City since being drafted in 1990, and I knew after the first season that I was here, this was gonna be home. Kansas Cityans embraced me, and I didn't look back. One of the things I love about Kansas City are the great people. People like my friends at Roberts Robinson Chevrolet Buick GMC of Excelsior Springs. Cars and trucks are very personal to me, so having the best is important. I've been a customer for a few years now, and I couldn't be happier. They're the professionals, they're courteous, and more importantly, they make me feel like family. Roberts Robinson is what Kansas City is all about. Good people working hard to keep us going. Right now, they have their 2020 sell-down event. There's only a few 2020s left at these low prices. Till the end of March, there's 0% financing for up to 72 months on select models. Drive to Excelsior Springs and check out Roberts Robinson, or shop online at robertsrobinson.com. Tell them that Mr. Truck sent you, a.k.a. Grunny.
Every weekday on Sports Radio 810, tune in to hear Kansas City's favorite local lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bukaty. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kansas City's favorite sports station, 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
When do you think about your insurance? Chances are it's when you're paying your bill or filing a claim. At Briar Payne Mead, we always think about your insurance. It's what we do. Buying a car, having a baby, building a home, starting a business. Then it's time to call BPM at 913-681-099 or visit us on the web at bpminsurance.com. Great service and extremely competitive rates from the top-rated companies. Briar Payne Mead, 913-681-099. That's 913-681-099.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Growing up in this family, there's pretty much 2 requirements. You better eat fast, you're not going to eat. And be ready every morning to just wake up and pretty much have a fist fight. That's whether it's an actual fist fight or it's just an emotional fist fight, you're going to have one way or the other, pretty much every day.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
This week has really been an emotional fistfight in a lot of ways, not just for the Kansas City Chiefs, but around the NFL and certainly across the Chiefs' offensive line. Nobody I'd rather talk about it with than Matt Verderame of FanSided. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Read his work on FanSided. Check out the Stack in the Box podcast, Stack in the Box column. Also crossing over to the Arrowhead Addict podcast and just really everywhere on the internet that you could possibly want to find Verderame, whatever way you would most like to consume his work. I'm sure there's an avenue for it. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, there are a lot of moving parts this week, a lot of moving parts just across the Chiefs' offensive line. I'm curious what you thought. Before we look ahead, before you even evaluate the moves themselves, and I know you've already written on the topic, but whenever you saw yesterday morning, for me, it was the push notification from Adam Schefter, and then about 2 minutes later, it was another one. First about Fisher, then about Mitch Schwartz. What did you think when that news came down?
I was mixed because before Brett Veach's press conference, what now? 2 weeks ago?
It was 10 days before, so it's now been 11, I think. Yeah.
10 days. Okay. So it was almost a week and a half ago.
Yep.
Before that, I think most people believed it was a foregone conclusion that Eric Fisher either was going to be released or the number was going to be significantly reduced.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brett Veach came out and shocked everybody and said, he could be back by mid-August. When that press conference happened, I think the expectation went from, okay, Mitchell Schwartz may retire. Fisher is probably gone to, wow, okay, apparently the Chiefs are just going to try to use their term, run it back one more time. So if that press conference hadn't happened and they made those moves, then I would have just said, well, okay, that makes a ton of sense. But because I think the press conference was what really threw people, and obviously we'll be here talking for a little bit, and I have some thoughts as to potentially what may have happened, and but it was bizarre. It was.
I think that's exactly like nail on the head because both of those pieces of news were really jarring yesterday morning, but I in retrospect I felt silly for having bought it on Eric Fisher because you're right. Before that press conference, if you would have asked me 12 days ago, I would have said, yeah, they're going to cut Fisher probably and have to do something else there. And then I was up in the air on Schwartz, but the way that he tweeted about looking forward to a healthy 2021 and everything, and I think he specifically like hashtagged it Chiefs Kingdom. So I was like, all right. That's actually, you know what? He's actually coming back. This is exciting. And then with the Veach presser, I had the exact same experience, which was I went from like 50-50 on Schwartz to damn near 100%, and then kind of maybe moved up to 50-50 on Fisher, and now they're both gone. So, I want to get into what you wrote on FanSided a little bit, but what do you think was happening there with Veach's presser?
So normally that press conference happens at the combine, but obviously we're not at the combine because there is no combine. My feeling, and it is just a feeling, it's just my somewhat educated opinion on just knowing the league. There are no coincidences in the NFL. That it's too high stakes, it's too much money, and this isn't the Detroit Lions with biting kneecaps. Okay, this isn't the Houston Texans. The Kansas City Chiefs are a very intentional organization. They don't misspeak. They don't speak half truths. They're pretty upfront, even if they're guarded. And so my belief is between that press conference and yesterday morning, something changed. And I am just, my opinion that maybe the Chiefs found out that there were some free agents out there who would fit those needs, who were willing to go there, and the Chiefs felt like, look, if we move on from Fisher and from Schwartz, we can then afford said free agent. Now, I don't know that to be true. That is just my opinion. But I find it exceedingly unbelievable that Brett Veach would get up there. And I have talked to Brett numerous times at those types of things, whether it be at the Super Bowl or the Combine, and he's always a very straightforward type of guy in those gatherings. And I don't think he was blowing smoke. So I'm kind of led to feel that, look, maybe something changed for Kansas City where they got an idea of, hey, maybe we can get one of these top offensive linemen, and then if we cut these two guys, okay, now we have that offensive lineman, and we have Lucas Niang, and we have Duvernay Tardif coming back, and so on and so forth. But I just can't believe that you went from that press conference to cutting both of those guys in 10 days and nothing changed.
Yeah.
That just seems beyond the pale to me. I don't believe that.
And I think that the free agent thing, that's what I keep harping on, and I keep going back to this idea for me, and I was running this by you after the news happened, saying, Matt, do I sound crazy here? I cannot imagine that as the Jags go on the clock on draft night, that the Chiefs' depth chart at left tackle is just going to say Yasir Durant or Mike Rimmers and Martinez Rankin. I just think, especially whenever we know how Andy Reid, whenever he's been in Kansas City, has valued the tackle positions. I mean, the way the Chiefs' offensive line has been built, with the exception of Mitch Morse, who they drafted highly in the middle there, and they've paid LDT, but they've had some willingness to move around a little bit at center and the guard spots because I'm led to believe they have so much faith in Fisher and Schwartz over these last 5 years especially. I have to think, and we can talk about Niang in a minute, but I have to think that they're not going to go into next year just with whoever they take at 31 in Niang having two tackles with 0 NFL snaps protecting their $500 million quarterback. That just doesn't seem plausible to me. What do you think about that? Does that make sense to you?
No, I think it does. Look, would I rule it out? No, because it's the NFL and maybe they strike out on certain guys and they're kind of stuck doing that. But I agree with the thought process. They're paying Mahomes $500 million.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs have a lot of great players, but make no mistake about it. If he's not on the field, none of this works.
Yeah.
They need him on the field all the time, and they need him protected. And right now, he's not. Now, I will say this, and I get it. I know it's a function of social media. You see the contingent, and not only of fans, but of people in the media who are like freaking out that the Chiefs will. My God, Mahomes does not protect him. It's March 11th. They don't play for 6 months.
Yeah.
They're not going to go into the next season and call me up and say, by the way, you're starting left tackle week 1. Get in shape.
Right.
They'll figure it out. They're not dumb. They just went to back-to-back Super Bowls and won one of them. So I do think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'll say this. Look, I think with Kansas City, a couple things. And we've seen this now a little bit with Mahomes' money getting converted, the tackles being cut. The Chiefs are about 14 or so million under the cap, 13.5 million. If the Chiefs wanted to be 50 million under the cap, they could do it.
Yeah.
So just know, and they may not spend lavishly, although I actually think they're going to be far more aggressive than people think. We've talked about this. I've written about this for over a month. I think Kansas City is going to be much more aggressive in free agency than people think they're going to be.
Yeah.
I just, look, 2 years ago was the last time they lost a real big game of consequence. They lost the AFC Championship game. And while the defense was awful, they led the league in sacks that year. Brett Veach ripped that defense apart limb from limb. He basically kept Chris Jones and Anthony Hitchens and took out everybody else and brought in and got rid of Justin Houston and got rid of Eric Berry and let Steven Nelson walk and traded D Ford. They ripped that thing down to the studs, and then they built it back up and won the Super Bowl. So to me, if you're Brett Veach, what is the lesson? If you're going to rebuild something, don't do it with half measures. Go full on into it. And by the way, how did they rebuild it? They brought in stars.
Yeah.
They brought in Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu, and they built around those guys. They felt they needed culture changers. I don't know if they need culture changers because your offense is a great culture, but I do not think for 1 second anything that I know from watching Brett Veach work over the years that he is going to go out and sign some middling left tackle to play in front of Mahomes. If they go into free agency, I would expect that they will either go after Trent Williams or they will go after Alejandro Villanueva. Now, obviously, Williams is the prize of the whole deal, but Villanueva is a very good player. I do not think that the Chiefs are going to do a bunch of half measures when it comes to protecting Mahomes. I just would be floored if that's how this scenario played out.
I think that comp to the tearing apart the defense and rebuilding it with stars like that at the top, I think is a great call. And look, Trent Williams is going to be expensive, but I was having this conversation earlier because a couple of our commenters on Twitch had brought up Orlando Brown, and frankly, I think I should probably talk about him more than I have so far. Like, I think it's a good name to mention, especially because he's almost 10 years younger than Trent Williams, which is something that I think is really important in that conversation. But I just generally speaking, and this is, they did this for Frank Clark. Generally speaking, I don't like trading draft picks to immediately pay a dude a ton of money, because you can either spend the money or use the draft picks to get guys. Whatever you have to do both to get somebody, you absolutely must get that guy right. And if they think they could do that with Orlando Brown, then I think that window being open there makes sense. But and maybe if they're just absolutely in love with 5 offensive tackles in this draft class that they think could legitimately be there at 31, we're not counting Sewell at the top. Like, if they think all of these dudes could be that guy, then maybe you could build that argument. But I think it just makes a lot more sense, like you said, to assume that Brett Veach is going to find at these positions of extreme need a place to spend this money to make a monster improvement at that position. Because that's the other thing with, look, I don't know where Schwartz is going to be. He's been kind of vague, about what comes next. They'll see. I don't think that they go full clean house if they don't have some sort of plan in place, because that also just doesn't sound very much like Brett Veach to me.
No, and look, consider this too, right? And I know we've talked about this. Maybe some people aren't aware. Normal years, free agency starts at the combine.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I don't care if it's the league calendar, if it's 2 weeks late. No, believe me, it starts over cocktails at the JW Marriott.
Right.
Okay? And then it bleeds into the steakhouses, and then it bleeds into the car ride, or the taxi ride back home. And those conversations are had at 3 o'clock in the morning on a napkin. Okay? That's the NFL. Now, you're not having that this year. And I have talked to about a dozen agents who have all told me the same thing. This year, free agency basically started at the Senior Bowl because teams are so nervous and paranoid that other teams are going to get the jump on them that they started calling early. And instead of cocktails, it happens over Zoom calls and it happens over text threads. So these teams have had an idea now for about 6 weeks as to what guys want, what guys are going to take, what the competition is. If you don't think that Kansas City and every other confident organization in the NFL knows what Trent Williams is going to cost, you're insane. Of course they know what he's going to cost. Any team that's been interested in any of these guys has known it for a month. So look, I think if you're the Chiefs, you've got to run down a handful of scenarios and figure out which one you like best. Are you willing to pay the tackle big money and then draft for the interior? Or are you more apt to say, look, we will go with rookies on either end, but we'll make a real run at Corey Linsley at center, who's an all-pro level center coming off a rookie deal, and you know what? We'll take a run at one of these guards. We'll take a run at Joe Thuney. We'll take a run at some of these guys, maybe who are vet guys who have been cut, guys like Dave Jackson, Kevin Zeitler, Andrew Norwell. We'll take runs at those guys. If you're the Chiefs, what makes more sense? Financially, you probably get more bang for your buck trying to take care of the interior, because you could probably do that for about the same price a guy like Trent Williams would cost you. But on the flip side, if you ever were to get a guy like Trent Williams on the left hand, and look, they're going to have a lot of competition if they even waver into that market, but Trent Williams is a Hall of Fame caliber player. I mean, if you had Trent Williams to block on the blind side of Patrick Mahomes, I don't think anybody's complaining. And again, the cap doesn't matter in any of this. Like, people just, and I'm not one of these cap is fake guys, because ask the Saints how that's going right now. But the cap is very flexible.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have a ton of money that they can play with this year. They have a lot of money next year. Look, guys get cut in the NFL. There's not full-on guaranteed contracts. Mahomes' money is so ridiculous. They can push money every single year with Mahomes. Yep. And they probably will. Yep. The cap's going to explode with the new TV deal and the 17-game schedule. Like, the Chiefs are not worried about what cap hits are going to be, right? They're just not. They're not at that point. They will be in a few years. But right now, they don't care. They're not worried about it. And I think, when you think about what they can do and what they can't do, cap hits really are probably not a huge part of the equation.
So with that being said, and I know you're going to have to do some guesswork to figure out what these numbers would be, but if you're in the Chiefs' shoes, with whatever you would guess that the number would have to be for a Trent Williams, or what the financial and draft pick number might be for a guy like Orlando Brown, and maybe even if the Ravens would be willing to trade him to another AFC contender, do you pull the trigger on one of those guys if I give you the keys to the franchise?
I would call Trent Williams and say, if I give you $20 million a year for 4 years, am I in the ballpark? And if I am, I'm having a conversation. Because to me, you're the most valuable player in North American sports as your quarterback.
Yeah.
That guy, that can't be Andrew Luck getting hit over and over and over till 28. He goes, I'm done. I don't need this. I'm done. I don't. You can't have it where that situation, or not even that he retires, but he's just constantly hurt because he's just getting beat the heck out. Look, if I were the Chiefs, me personally, I would call on Williams. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for him. I think it's going to be very hard. Now, look, the Chiefs are appealing for obvious reasons, but it would be hard. I'd call Villanueva. I'd find that, okay, look, 2 years, $27, $28 million, is that in the ballpark for him? And then, look, if I were the Chiefs, I'd call on the tackles. I would get one of these guards. To me, that is just, there's so many guards out there. I think the Chiefs can get a guard. I would draft a center. If Lindsley is not, if you're gonna go after a tackle, you can't go after everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to pick up a guard relatively cheap, like a second-tier guy, draft a center, and feel good about it. The other side is, if you feel like the tackles are too rich for your blood, then I would try to get Lindsley in the worst way, and I would get one of those second-tier guards as well, and I'd go into the draft, and whoever the best tackle is on the board at 31, that's who I'm taking. I'd be willing to move up, and I'd say, all right, look, we're going to have to play a little differently this year unless these tackles just turn out to be incredible, because if we're starting 2 rookie tackles, I mean, the concern is that Kansas City's offense is built to help the guys on the inside. It is not built to help these tackles.
Yeah.
Andy Reid loves to let Fisher and Schwartz play one-on-one. That's what they do. And it allows them to flood the field with playmakers. And that is why I do think if push comes to shove, I think they'll look at a tackle first in free agency.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to help Alejandro Villanueva. They don't have to help Trent Williams. And then you can do some different things.
You tweeted yesterday that the Chiefs love Lucas Niang. I've heard that, seen that in a number of places. You're not alone on that one. You mentioned they had a second-round grade on him last year. Are you just assuming that he's the right tackle day one at this point?
Yes, I am. I think unless he's hurt, he's playing. Look, they do have a very high opinion of him. They took him in the 3rd round. They had a second-round grade on him, talking to a source on that. My understanding is that provided that he's healthy, they view him as a long-term option, who, by the way, can play some guard, but is a guy who played right tackle his whole career at TCU. He is trained, I believe, Nate Taylor over the Athletic, who does great work. I need to do a podcast with him. I know Nate is a great guy. He wrote a great piece on Niang.
Yeah.
Where he has some flexibility to play left tackle as well. So they kind of move Niang around, but I think his quote unquote natural position is that right tackle. To me, the right side is fairly easy to figure out. You've got to do Nate Taylor if you've got Niang. You've got to figure out the rest of it. And if you're the Chiefs, I think you can get a guard pretty cheap. There's a glut of them on the market. I'll give you another name. Coming off of the COVID-19 list, Larry Walford, who is 27 years old. In the last 3 years, he's a 3-time first-team All-Pro. I mean, what's Larry going to cost?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm trying to find out because Larry Walford can play, and he's in his mid-20s. He opted out because of COVID last year. He was going to be a free agent. That's the kind of guy, if you're Brett Veach, I'm looking at and going, okay, I'm in on him because there's a lot of guards. The tackles are going to be extremely expensive. And by the way, to just touch on it real quick, because you mentioned, and by the way, I'm sorry, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, not 3-time first-team All-Pro, but still a very, very good player.
Yeah.
Look, Orlando Brown, he's a terrific player. The problem from the Chiefs' perspective is, I don't know if Baltimore you can trade him.
Yeah.
But let's say they do. You're giving up your first-round pick for him. And then he has all the leverage in the world because you just gave up a first-round pick for him. I mean, he's getting $20 million a year.
Yeah.
So, to me, if you said, would you rather have Orlando Brown, who I know is younger, but you've got to give up the first-round pick and pay him $100 million, or I get Trent Williams and I keep my first-round pick and I pay him $80 million, I have Trent Williams. I don't care that he's 33. I'll worry about replacing Trent Williams in 3 years.
Yeah, right.
I don't care.
Right.
I just don't care. I'd rather have the pick. And I don't think Baltimore. That's insane for Baltimore to trade in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like of all the teams in the league outside of their division, it'd probably be the last team they traded to.
One piece that's up on FanSided right now that people can go check out is kind of back more to Fisher and Schwartz. But you wrote about how this is a straight up Belichickian move for the Chiefs, and the phrase that you used to kick off the story is also very, very New England, saying a year early is better than a year late. I think this whole thing is a really good look at kind of the logic of moving on from a couple of guys that definitely are leaving some pain and some Chiefs fans seeing them be cut and not leaving on their own terms. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of that in terms of like beloved championship winning Chiefs. We saw it with Dustin Colquitt, who ended up coming back anyway. But I'm curious if you think that this is something that we're going to see the Chiefs continue to be good at in the Mahomes era, and what you thought about it, and kind of specifically through that lens that you wrote about up on FanSided.
Yeah. No, look, I think we live in a world now, especially people of a certain age who are always on Twitter like us, who are just punished by social media every day of our lives.
I've been so online the last couple of days, man. I've got nothing to show
really,
for it.
It's atrocious.
It really is.
It really is. I mean, if there was ever, listen, I'm all for personal freedom, but if there's ever time to cut it off, it's at Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, and my wife's going to kill me because this next week my entire life's going to be on Twitter. And that between that and talking to people in the league, that's going to be my whole week. But look, we live in a world where everything is a meme and everything is a quick little quip or a funny little snarky joke. Like, oh, here's a picture of Mahomes with no offensive line. And then every Chiefs fan responds to it like, oh, we're going to give up 50 sacks in week one. Like, it's like, yeah, okay. So I tried to look at it from a realistic standpoint and said, look, you want to be the next dynasty, right? And like, even though they lost the Super Bowl, they're clearly in the driver's seat to be that next dynasty.
Right.
By the way, if they win the Super Bowl this coming year, they are a dynasty. For the record.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 straight. I don't think too many people complain.
Yeah.
But look, if you want to be that dynasty, you're going to make hard decisions. And everybody points to the Pats, and I wrote a lot about them. A lot of this started with the Niners in the 80s with Bill Walsh. I mean, Dwight Clark is so famous for the catch. And Dwight Clark was cut a year before he wanted to retire because Bill Walsh called him in his office and said, Dwight, we think you can play another year, but you're not going to do it here. Because we need to move on. Belichick was and is infamous for that, trading Richard Seymour to the Raiders. People thought he was insane. They cut Lawyer Malloy. They got rid of Deion Branch. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And you know what? He was right.
Yeah.
He was right almost every time. Trey Flowers, how's he doing in Detroit?
Yeah. Nobody
Nobody cares. He's gone. See ya. Jamie Collins. Oh, they'll never recover. Jamie Collins at Cleveland did nothing and came back. Like it's hard to do it. Eric Fisher and Mitch Schwartz may go on to play other places and be really good. They may also be Eric Berry and never play again.
Mm-hmm.
The Brett Veach call to get rid of these guys is a hard one. I'm sure he agonized over it. But the reality is, if you're going to win, you cannot be a year late on those decisions. All that does is delay your process, and you get older and you get more expensive. I'm not saying that Kansas City even will be better off because the key is, and the thing that gets lost at Belichick, and I wrote about this, you have to replace those guys. You have to be right when you replace them. Whoever the Chiefs bring in, rookie, veteran, doesn't matter, they got to be right. If they're wrong, then none of this matters. But if they're right, if they find a good young guard or a good young tackle, if they find a free agent who comes in and stabilizes the situation, then as painful as it may be in the short term to lose two fan favorites, they were right. And to be great for a long time, you have to make brutally tough decisions, a lot of times taking the emotion out of it. And while I think the Chiefs are taking a chance, I think the Chiefs are right to do it. Now they have to replace him, and that's the hardest part.
Matt, it's always excellent to talk to you, but I got to say, we've had our segments where it's stupid, then Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and then we've got our segments that's just, oh, God, so many Chiefs things have happened. I enjoy them all, but it's really nice to have something to talk about as we have here today. Thank you for making some time for us on short notice tonight. Hopefully, whenever we talk to you next, I don't know, there are some offensive linemen that are currently under contract for the Chiefs, and we'll have a little bit of an idea as where they go from here. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Take care.
Matt Verderame of FanSided, please, for the love of God, go check out the Stacking the Box podcast, the Stacking the Box column. Go to FanSided, read his article about Belichick, this Belichickian move from the Chiefs, and support everything that Matt does, because this dude is outrageously generous with his time with us and is just one of my absolute favorite people to talk to about all these things. Great information. We'll break down some of it on the other side of the break. I do need to let you know, even as this show has been super chiefy today, we got all sorts of college basketball coverage continuing over the weekend here on Sports Radio 810. And all of our tournament coverage is sponsored by CBD American Shaman. Stop by your local American Shaman or visit them online at cbdamericanshaman.com. CBD American Shaman, everything is better with the feather.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Another season of frigid temperatures is finally behind us. But with the good comes some bad, because another winter in the books means another year of wear and tear on your roof. Greg Gurley here. Wouldn't it be nice to sleep well knowing you can trust the roof over your head? You can with the company I trust, Buck Roofing. Buck Roofing has fixed the roof over my mom's head and thousands of KC homeowners and commercial buildings. Jayhawks, Wildcats, and Tigers all agree that Buck Roofing is simply the best in Kansas City. Ron and his team are experts in residential, commercial roofing, and they can do your gutters too. Don't just take my word for it. Check their rating with Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. Buck Roofing will do only the work that needs to be done, and you can trust that you are getting a fair bid. Put this number in your phone now. 913-384-2680. That's 913-384-2680, or online at ourbuckroofing.com. And sleep well knowing Buck Roofing fixed the roof over your head. Hey, it's former Jayhawk Greg Gurley. Kansas fans and alumni are in every city and state we play. If your favorite Jayhawk fans are missing home, send them some Joe's KC barbecue. Nothing beats home court and championship barbecue on game day. Joe's will ship anywhere in the U.S. It's easy to reheat, and it tastes just as good at home as it does at Joe's. You can ship all of Joe's favorites, like ribs, brisket, burn ends, and even the famous Z-Man. Ordering is easy, and it's just a few clicks away at joeskc.com.
These days, more and more women are asking for fancy-shaped diamonds. Ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, ashers, marquise, heart-shaped, pear-shaped, emerald cuts. All very popular this year. And no one has more of these special shapes than Diamonds Direct. In fact, we've just increased our selection of these beautiful stones, with sizes ranging from a half carat up to 10 carats. And while other jewelers will try to tell you these fancy shapes cost more, the fact is, as you'll learn at Diamonds Direct, fancy-shaped diamonds should always cost up to 20% less than the same size round diamond. Plus, in many cases, a fancy-shaped diamond will have a larger face and appear bigger than a round diamond with the same carat weight. So, with a fancy-shaped diamond, you can get a bigger look for a lower price and have a diamond that stands out from the crowd. Come to Diamonds Direct and get the facts about fancy-shaped diamonds, see the largest selection, and get the guaranteed best price. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. At 119th and Row.
Golfers, tee it up this year at Edwin Watts Golf Shops with the hottest new arrivals from Callaway, featuring the new Apex 21 irons with tungsten energy core, the first forged iron designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit on the new Apex, Apex Pro, and Apex DCB today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
You know warm weather has arrived when the sun forces you to take off that winter coat. Soon, the smell of flowers and barbecuing will be upon us. Bushnell invites you to get outdoors and take up a hobby. Bird watching, target shooting, or maybe disc golf. Bushnell has what you need to get out and enjoy the season. With an array of binoculars, rifle scopes, and the all-new Sport 850 disc golf range finder, Bushnell has the gear you need. Visit any of their retail partners, or you can check them out online at bushnell.com.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
It's kind of funny at this point. Like, I definitely see Beards more than I see anyone in my own family. By a good stretch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happens.
With Joshua Brisco.
It's also interesting.
I live at home.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
It's a Twitch comment here from Bartman KC on the Sports Radio 810 Twitch, which you should go subscribe to. It's a good time over there. Twitch is really, no offense to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube, because I know you're out there. Twitch is obliterating you guys. Twitch commenters are having a grand time. Bartman says, I think if there's anything to learn this week in Kansas City sports, it's that the Royals really need to pick up their drama game. First of all, yes. Second of all, funny. Third of all, here's the thing. In a different week, the Royals would have led a lot of conversations, because think about how many highfalutin conversations we could have had fighting about Bobby Witt and bringing him up to the big leagues right away and everything. Like, we seriously, we talked Royals for almost an hour with Lesky, and then afterwards, 2 days ago, I think. All the days have run together. There's just the time that I'm talking to a microphone and the time that I'm unconscious. Those are the only two times. There's on air and asleep. But one of those times we were on air. We talked to Lesky about the Royals for like an hour, and we talked about a bunch of Bobby Witt stuff, and we had our fight about how he's already going to be better than George Brett and all that stuff. That could have been like a week-long conversation. Because listen, I'm going to let everybody... You know how much I like to show you all how the sausage is made, right? Something we haven't honestly done as much recently. I don't know if we've had that many sausages to show you. What? But I love to let you behind the scenes a little bit. I'm not afraid. We have to talk about something, because it's one of the things that I really do love about radio. That it's not true for even podcasts, much less like writing. Eventually you hit the button on a podcast and you can start talking about whatever's there. You can write about something, but you can go through several drafts, tweaking it. Whenever you're doing terrestrial radio, like tonight, at 8 o'clock, the microphone was coming on. If I was going to do a podcast, I might have, finished my can of Sonic the Hedgehog Peach Rings G Fuel first. I got the can from Quick Trip because I didn't know that I was going to be coming back to the studio whenever I left the house today, because with the KU game getting canceled when it did. So I needed to go get an emergency pick-me-up, and I'm trying the Sonic the Hedgehog flavor.
Are you going fast? Do you have gold rings floating in your eyes?
I don't have gold rings. I gotta be honest. I do not feel like I'm going that fast. I do keep choking on the spines though, which are really a big miss. I like G Fuel for the most part, but I really do feel like leaving all of the porcupine hedgehog spikes in there was a big misstep. Yeah, the quills, I guess. I got another one. What was it gonna? Oh yeah. So if you were doing a right, exactly. If you were doing a podcast, I might have edited that pause there out. But in live radio, eventually the mics come on. Usually it's Border Patrol at 6, Zone at 10, Program at 2, us at 7 or 8, and just the mic comes on and you got to talk about, in our case, almost entirely sports. And that's kind of fun. You get at least for me. But I also really liked, my improv team in college and whatnot. Nerd. No, but it was great. It was one of my best continuing memories and experiences and everything. But the reason though wasn't because I'm an improv. I'm pushing my glasses up, an improv expert. But it's because that's where that rush comes from. Where you can be as prepared or as flexible as you want, but eventually you just got to get out there and start doing the thing. For us, we're going to have to pick a topic to talk about. If the only thing we had today was Mike Rimmers, and you said, Josh, I need you to talk about Mike Rimmers for 2 hours, and then KU for 1. Well, can you do that? I'd say, yeah, sure. I'm gonna figure it out. We're going to make it work. We could have done that with the Royals this week pretty easily. That concludes, parting the curtain, closing the curtain again. We could have done that with the Royals this week pretty easily, I think. We could have had Alec on, and we could have done a bunch of stuff about the pitching prospects, and there was some legitimately pretty interesting stuff going on in Surprise, and dudes were hitting palm trees, and there was one day where there were like 6 homers or something. Absolute crazy stuff that I didn't even stop scrolling through Twitter for because Jeff Long was firing Snoop Dogg as head coach of the Jayhawks, I think. And Eric Fisher's the new AD, I think, is what was happening.
And then Jeff Long got shot out of a cannon.
That would have been pretty fun. You know what that would have been, though, Beards? You know what that was to happen? A long shot. Improv.
I'm turning my mic off now.
You should be turning my mic off now, if I'm being completely honest with you. But there's Royals, there are seeds of stuff that we could have watered for the Royals, and instead it's no, we have so much, just dripping red raw meat that we can just throw into the Tigers instead of growing these beautiful little Royals plants. Does that metaphor make sense?
I don't know, but now I'm hungry.
The phrase dripping red raw meat got you hungry?
I mean, it's 9:30. I'm hungry anyway.
You know what I did? I mentioned my Quick Trip.
Mm-hmm.
When I got my first... I seriously don't think I've been to Quick Trip in nearly a year because of the continuing unpleasantness. But you know what I decided a couple days ago I was really craving, and then I capitalized on today, that I think I've definitely never done this at 6 p.m. at a Quick Trip before? I got a donut. Donuts are good.
Never had one of their donuts.
Really?
No.
There wasn't a great selection on account of it being 6 p.m.
I'm a donut snob.
Yeah, that's true.
I like Lamar's Donuts, and occasionally we'll have Munchers in Lawrence. And, that's it. That's my
What's
donut
the place in Lawrence called?
Munchers.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bakery. Kind of almost downtownish.
Yeah, sure. That's a fun name.
Yeah, they're pretty decent.
It sounds like a euphemism or something, but I don't really know I don't really know why.
It's because you got a dirty mind.
I don't know what I'm basing that off of. It just sort of, I don't know.
But now I want Lamar's Donuts.
But I got a donut. It was pretty good.
I introduced you to Lamar's Donuts.
Yeah, I think there were several. I remember several days where you brought donuts for you.
Mm-hmm. And then I brought you some.
You did eventually bring me some donuts.
Yeah.
I think once or twice. Why don't I talk about Quick Trip again? Sonic, gotta go fast. Rings in my eyes. Quills in my throat.
Donuts.
Donuts was definitely just a thought along the process. Long shot.
Talking.
Royals. Drama. That's how the segment started.
Yes. And then somewhere along the way, ta-da! Happened.
Why did I get to my Quick Trip? I don't remember why I started talking about Quick Trip. I think it had something to do with the G Fuel flavor. I don't know. For the life of me. One of the good things about the Twitch, by the way, is that I feel like whenever I ask that question, I'm not just asking you anymore. Like, one of the Twitch commenters can be like, hey, you got here by X, Y, or Z. Bartman asks why there's not a sausage emo. We've talked about there being some variant of that. We need more. I think we just need more subs right now before we can unlock more emotes to do, which sounds like me just kind of upselling people, which I guess is kind of true, but isn't really on purpose. But anyway. Chiefs offensive line. Verderame is incredibly good at analyzing all of this and at having a feel for what it is that's happening in these situations. Couple quick things. One, they're signing somebody. They gotta be signing somebody. I read all this by Nate on Times Ours yesterday also. That was yesterday. That's wild. Where I said, look, here's my take. And I've said this on the show now 4 times, so I know I'm repeating myself. But they're not going to go into the draft without a veteran that they could start at left tackle. Maybe they still draft offensive line. Maybe they still draft tackle. But they will not go into week 1 with 2 starting tackles protecting Patrick Mahomes with 0 NFL snaps. Nate was largely concurring. Verderame largely concurring. That is good enough for me. If on any decision or take or opinion in my life I get a general agreement from both Verderame and from Nate, I feel pretty good about myself. I'm going down that path. I'll take it. Whatever it is, I agree with them. They're going to sign somebody. I also, kind of reflecting back on the conversation you were having about Trent Williams and Orlando Brown in the first hour, if you're going to pay Orlando Brown and Trent Williams the same amount of money, would you rather have, and this is, I think, as Verderame set it up, this is probably the better way of thinking about it, would you rather have Trent Williams and a first-round pick or Orlando Brown? I don't think that there is only one correct answer to that. I'm not trying to pigeonhole anybody to say, hey, you would rather have Trent Williams and the first-round pick. But now, we've talked about the tackles over the last 24 hours or so a lot, right? Well, what if you, instead of trading for Orlando Brown and pay him essentially the same price, instead of trading for him, you sign Trent Williams, who is older. He's 32, will be 33 going into next season, as opposed to Orlando Brown being 24 going into on 25. It's not an unreasonable separation there. Now, as Verderame was saying, I'll worry about replacing Trent Williams in 3 years. Then as long as he's still performing well at age 35, 36, which is no sure thing. Again, fair to mention. But if he's still playing well at age 36, or he's even on a decline at age 36, whenever he's 36, your first-round pick is a tackle that can step in and replace him while he's still, he can sit behind Williams and Niang for 1 year, 3 years down the line. And again, if you say, you know what, no, I'd rather have Brown and not have to worry about replacing him for a decade as opposed to in 2 years, I totally understand that. But the question for me is, would you rather have Trent Williams at that number and then Wyatt Davis from Ohio State, who has a pretty good chance, I think, of being there at 31? Creed Humphrey has popped up. We've talked about Landon Dickerson plenty of times. Some of these names will come up whenever we talk to Jordan Foote here in about 15 minutes. He's been doing incredible work scouting the draft and everything. Would you rather have your choice of interior offensive lineman, maybe not including Vera Tucker, who seems like he's probably the most likely to not be there at 31 from those kind of interior dudes? Would you rather have your choice of the interior guys and Trent Williams, or would you rather have Orlando Brown? And then you're trying to pick, maybe in your second-round pick, you're taking hopefully your center or maybe a guard that you think can bolster that group. Again, this is not the thing that I do where I ask you a question and tell you that there is a right answer. but I think that phrasing it that way is reasonable. I'm a little more lukewarm on Alejandro Villanueva. I don't know why. I think that I've probably got a little fatigue of him being around long enough that I think of him as being, you know, I actually need to figure out exactly how old he is. I'm going to check that now because I'm guessing it's not as far off of the Trent Williams track as you might think. He's 32 also. He's 32. He'll be 33 next year. He feels older to me. I don't know why. I really don't. I think it's because Trent Williams has played largely irrelevant football and Villanueva's been on the Steelers. It's honestly probably what's happening to me there. But if it's Villanueva for a year or two, if it's making it work with Russell Okung for a year and then still drafting a guy maybe at 31, you could have a straight up open competition with Russell Okung on a 1-year deal, your 31st overall pick, and Lucas Niang. And hell, Mike Rimmers if you want. And then whoever doesn't win that job, you've got a great swing tackle and probably a guard from that group of 4. You could do a whole lot worse than that. And if you have an injury, one of those dudes kicks out the tackle, and now you're at least treading water reasonably well. I don't hate that either. I think that's kind of where I lean, but to Verderame's point last segment, how often does Brett Veach say, yeah, we'll take the 1-year patch-up deal, and then we'll draft somebody? I think Veach is probably sent a few texts, made a few calls to the people over at the Trent Williams estate and tried to gauge what that might cost. It's really interesting, though, and it's something that we'll be able to talk about a ton over the next week or so until that opens up. Beards, what are you giggling at your computer? Beards was just straight up staring at his computer screen and really, really tickled with himself.
There was a Twitch comment.
Would you like to read the Twitch comment?
Sure. Bartman Casey said, in all seriousness, hold on.
Well said, Beards.
Well, you'll get why
mark yourself.
I know.
Mark yourself.
You'll understand why I do that.
You don't get to mark me saying all my dumb bleep and not mark.
You are really good at this. Very entertaining. You're spelled Y-O-U''RE. Improv added to the chemistry of the three of you. Make this something I don't want to miss. And then he said,
Thank you, Bartman.
He said, asterisk to that, I swear if somebody types asterisk your, I'm going to have another beer. So I responded to his comment, your. So now he can go have another beer. That was all.
Is that the most stressed out way you could have possibly delivered that message?
Probably.
Was that the least efficient way you could have? Bartman was saying a nice thing about how we're very good at this. I appreciate that very much, Bartman. Thank you. And then also said, let's talk about your left tackle skills. I was more of a guard in high school. And not a very good one, and not a very big one either. Just not. There's a reason I'm talking about the game and not playing it, all right? Got eaten alive by the end of it all. Eaten alive might be too strong. Oh, back in, if it wasn't for this trick knee of mine, I could have gone pro. Or walked on at the MNU football team. I'm glad I didn't do that. That would have been a poor career choice for me and my body, which would have been broken, I think, by better athletes. But Bartman said some nice things, had a typo, and said if anyone corrects my typo, I'm going to go have another beer. Beards corrected his typo, so he would go have another beer. Beers McFly. Boom. Is that so hard? Go have some more beers, Bartman. Beards, none for you. I need you to still be cogent enough to run the next hour and 10 minutes or so of this show. So, although the way you explained that story, I would have thought maybe you had been 6 or 7 deep at this point. I got to tell you again, even though we haven't had as much tourney coverage as I was certainly planning on with that before this week, got absolutely bat bleep bonkers. If you want to go out to the Power and Light District tomorrow for the Big 12 championship game between Oklahoma State and Texas, OK State wins tonight, and you heard that on Sports Radio 810 earlier this evening. If you want to go out there and check all that out, you can go to powerandlightdistrict.com/basketball. You can see all the information about Hoop Central reserving a table and everything. It was all very socially distanced today. People were wearing their masks unless they're at their tables, and was a pretty good vibe. Enjoyed that burger at McFadden. So you can go out there and check it all out tomorrow if you'd like. And you can hear all sorts of basketball coverage here over the course of the day tomorrow. We've got championship weekend stuff. I was going to give you a list. We got 1,000 things, including, of course, the Big 12 championship game, which will tip off at 5. I'll be live tomorrow at about 2:30, depending on when the SEC semifinal game before us wraps up. But I'll be on then, and we'll talk about all of the things happening over the course of championship weekend leading up to Selection Sunday. Florida State just beat North Carolina in the ACC championship semifinal game. And all of our tournament coverage is sponsored by the 23rd Street Brewery, your basketball headquarters all month long. Support a local favorite, a delicious one at that. Curbside, dine-in, and carry-out, 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
With its dedication to bringing wellness to Kansas City, CBD American Shaman is excited to announce the opening of Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness at 117th and Row in Camelot Court. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness offers medical aesthetics and IV nutrient therapy, and there is a full-service CBD American Shaman store there too. Start your journey to wellness with Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. Call 913-227-9150 or go to shamantotalwellness.com. Life is better with the feather.
Hey, Kansas City, spring training isn't just for baseball players. You can lose those pandemic pounds and get into shape before the warmer weather hits, since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then, NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet and workout regimen to help you keep it off. Don't want to do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You'll be fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you're burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet offers live online video consultations, and they have a location right off 435, off the corner of College and Metcalf. Call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. Or go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
Prime Lending's mortgage professionals are ready to assist you with your next home loan or refinance of your current residence. Prime Lending has 10 convenient locations to serve you. Visit whyprimelendingkc.com. That's WHYPrimelendingkc.com or call 816-600-4561. Prime Lending ranked #1 mortgage lender in the Kansas City, Missouri metro area market per Market Track January 2019 to October 2020. All loans subject to credit approval, rates and fees subject to change. Prime Lending, a Plains Capital Company, NMLS 13649, is an equal housing lender.
Today on Hey Culligan, the best things in life are free. Water tests. Let's go to Candace.
Hey Culligan, how do I learn more about my water?
Candace, let me just test the waters here.
Okay.
Literally test your water.
Oh.
For free.
Free?
Free, Candace. In-home water tests for free. So you know more about your water and how to make it better with Culligan water. And Candace.
Yeah?
We're already on the way.
Oh, good.
Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
United Arab, what is that?
What was that word?
United, wow.
With Joshua Brisco.
You called it an Arab for
I know, I
and
did.
then you called it a United.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Beards, quick, what does UAB stand for?
United Arab Emirates.
Incorrect.
I almost did it again.
Incorrect. It stands for the University of Alabama, Birmingham. They're the Dragons.
United Arab.
I love that liner.
It's one of my favorites.
I love that liner so much. Really excellent.
Thank you. My finest work.
You're welcome. Let me give you 2 minutes here on the KU issue today. Just a quick, I'm just going to give you, it's a very short presser from KUathletics.com. Do you want me to read the internet, Beards? How long would it take for you to get me to where I need to be to read the internet?
Not that long, but also I'm going to hit the music here in a little bit.
Well, go ahead and hit the internet music.
And now, Josh reads the internet.
Due to a positive COVID-19 test this morning within the Kansas men's basketball team, the Jayhawks have withdrawn from the 2021 Big 12 Men's Basketball Championship. Kansas will remain in Kansas City in preparation for the NCAA tournament, following the health and safety protocols set by Kansas Team Health. The team will continue to be tested daily per NCAA guidelines. Obviously, we're disappointed, and our players are disappointed that they can't continue to compete for the Big 12 championship. Head coach Bill Self said, while we have been fortunate to avoid this throughout the season, there are daily risks with this virus that everybody participating is trying to avoid. We have followed the daily testing and additional protocols that have been set up for us. Unfortunately, we caught a bad break at the wrong time. I look forward to preparing my team in a probably in a unique way for next week's NCAA tournament. The thing that kind of sticks out to me from that is just sort of the cruel irony of KU getting through that season so flawlessly. They were scheduling UTEP, so they didn't get rusty before the Big 12 tournament. And now, in the Big 12 tournament, likely putting at least a few players in danger for the NCAAs, they finally run into a COVID issue. Not a lot of fun. Hopefully we get some good news on the KU front pretty soon. More football next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Wasn't doing anything different, wasn't trying to train for a marathon or compete in American Ninja Warrior, was just playing racquetball with my buddies, and that's how the injury happened.
That led to Achilles surgery and years of chronic pain for Will Burt, a patient at QC Kinetics.
There's always been tenderness and inflammation, and I had the surgery to repair the tendon, but it didn't repair my quality of life.
Desperate for relief, Will tried the regenerative cell treatments at QC Kinetics, and finally the pain was gone.
The good news is it's a solution without having to go under the knife, a solution that my body can kind of regenerate and take care of itself versus surgery, pain pills, rehab, and all that goes along with that.
Patients like Will are raving over the results. Call QC Kinetics today for your free consultation. 816-412-6299.
Thanks to the guys at QC Kinetics, quality of life is just a lot better.
QC Kinetics, off 435 and State Line. 816-412-6299.
How does A1 Mortgage beat those big bank rates and still offer no out-of-pocket closing costs? Because A1 Mortgage is from Little Old Lee Summit, and we pay Little Old Lee Summit rent. You know who pays rent for those big banks? You do. A1 Mortgage has been servicing the entire Kansas City area from Little Old Lee Summit since 2007. We've always been your hometown mortgage lender that offers the lowest interest rates. When it's time for your family to purchase or refinance a home, call A1 Mortgage in Little Old Lee Summit now and have your loan approved in about an hour and close in about 10 days. 816-822-8888. That's 816-822-8888. Download our app or apply online at a1mortgage.com. A1 Mortgage, 816-822-8888 or a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply, subject to change without notice.
Your home for March Madness. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
3-ball, count it. Butler, right corner to T. 3, yes! Marcus Garrett looking to drive, gets to the cup. Right hand runner goes! Frazier with a 3, and he stuck it from way out top.
Rebound loose. Brooks saves it, finds Dickinson for a two-hand stop.
The road to the Final Four starts here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Championship Week on Sports Radio 810 is presented by Creative Planning, a nationally recognized Kansas City wealth manager. Go to creativeplanning.com for more information. By CBD American Shaman. Stop by your local American Shaman or visit them online at cbdamericanshaman.com. By 23rd Street Brewery, your basketball headquarters all month long. Support a local favorite with curbside dine-in and carry-out, the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. And by Gomer's, a Kansas City tradition since 1969. Nobody knows more about fine wine, spirits, and craft beer than Gomer's.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Hot Tub Sale. We have hot tubs coming in every week. No need to wait for months. Come get your dream hot tub today. Family Leisure also has pools in stock for spring installation. Don't go another summer without a pool for your family. Come in and see our huge selection of patio furniture. Family Leisure is your one-stop shop for pool tables, shuffleboard, bar stools, and home theater seating. All priced to go. Mention 810 and save more at Family Leisure in Olathe.
913-888-7727. Awesome!
Every weekday on Sports Radio 810, tune in to hear Kansas City's favorite local lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bucati. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leawood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
At Central Bank of the Midwest, we are focused on building strong communities across Kansas City. I'm Bill Ferguson, President and CEO. Our strong roots began more than 100 years ago in the heart of the Midwest and continue today across 5 states and 67 communities. Central Bank of the Midwest brings you the best of both worlds, a strong community bank with the resources and technology to deliver a legendary banking experience. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Kansas City's favorite sports station, 20 years and counting. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You were right. I was wrong. I am a big dumb stupid head.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Right now on the TV in front of me on ESPN, there's a scroll on the bottom third for SportsCenter at night. It's going to start in a few minutes, apparently. Please don't change the channel. Don't go to your TV. Stay right here. But at one point, one of the bottom third teases was, will Tom Brady ever retire? And I just like that we're kind of collectively getting to that point. We're accepting that the answer to that may be no. At this point, at the very least, doesn't make any sense to predict that he's going to retire, because someday in his late 90s, he will disappear like a Jedi Force ghost, and he'll just no longer be playing football. But other than that, I'm just going to anticipate that we're going to watch him play 16 or maybe soon 17 games every year. He's going to win a championship every couple of years, and this is the world that we live in. It's a dark timeline, but it's the real one. Another dark timeline as of right now exists for the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line. We got a ton of news yesterday as the Chiefs released Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. Also get the news that they're probably not really looking to retain Austin Ryder. They are looking to bring back Mike Rimmers, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now. We talked about a lot of it with Matt Verderame last hour about how we got here. I want to talk to Jordan Foote about where the Chiefs can go from here, specifically in the NFL draft. You can follow him on Twitter at Footnoted. There's an E in there because his last name is spelled that way. It's a good Twitter handle. I like it a lot. I think I came up with it, but it's a good handle regardless. Let's not point any fingers, and let's give him credit to me. Follow him on Twitter at Footnoted and check out the series that he is over halfway through with right now on arrowheadreport.com. 100 and 100. He is reviewing 100 players over the course of 100 days leading up to the NFL draft, one every single day up on Arrowhead Report. It is an absolutely bonkers undertaking that he volunteered to do. Jordan, do you have any regrets as we sit here on day whatever?
Not quite yet. I thought that I'd kind of have those regrets as we approached like day 21. I think you kind of agreed with that, but we're 50 however many in, and I'm still going somewhat strong.
I'm really glad that you also don't know what day we're on because I'm pretty confident it's in the 50s. But I'm scrolling down your thread right now. Honestly, it's breaking Twitter because there's too many threaded along here. Tweets were never supposed to go on this infinitely.
Yeah, I had to check my blood sugar before I came back on, so I didn't have a chance to check on that.
Well, listen, I'm glad that you're in that safe range, and this will be a very safe for radio segment with you here. I have another question before we get deep into all of the drafts I want to talk to you about. I just admitted this on Twitter, and I'm going to admit it now on the radio, and I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. I don't understand the sneeze emoji. I understand the yawn emoji. I get it. It makes sense to me. What is the sneeze emoji supposed to be for in like a flex situation? I don't get it, and I'm now 1,000 years old. I just aged 1,000 years.
It's kind of deflecting attention. I mean, it kind of depends on who uses it, I think. Obviously, you could use it as a sneeze. I don't really know anyone that does that. Kind of like the yawn emoji. Like me and Tucker Franklin, the superstar you had on yesterday. Well, I guess I shouldn't have called him a superstar. Hopefully he's not listening in. But anyway,
he's not listening.
We use that yawn emoji just for fun. The sneeze emoji is kind of just like an aw shucks type of deal. But I guess in 2021 with the pandemic still going, I guess I should pick a different emoji. I'm not quite sure.
No, I think it's totally fine. I guess it makes more sense as almost like I'm just wiping my nose. This is so little of a deal to me that I'm just wiping my nose and moving on to the next thing. Or maybe it's the only way that I can successfully write 100 scouting reports in 100 days is because I'm doing a lot of cocaine and then I'm wiping my nose of that.
Let's go with the first one since we're on the radio.
Fair enough. We've already clarified your blood sugar's at a good place, so yeah, let's not get you in any trouble. So I do want to you've done this crazy series at this point, and I want to talk about some of these prospects in the late first round range, especially at tackle, maybe a little bit in the interior as well. But I'm curious first, because you're not just all draft. You're not all work and no play. You're not all draft and no big picture stuff. What did you think whenever all that news started coming out yesterday, where we get first the Fisher release, then we get the Schwartz news, and then even now with Austin Ryder, obviously he doesn't have kind of the storied connection to the all-time Chiefs that we'll look back on. But all three of those pretty impactful moves. What did you think as those happened in real time?
It wasn't a huge surprise. I mean, considering I think that everyone was kind of caught off guard at least a little bit based on, all the stuff that Brett Veach had talked about, and he seemed excited. Verderame definitely kind of hit the nail on the head where something probably did change behind closed doors, and they kind of decided they need to go in a different direction, and that's okay. But with all of that, both guys were on the wrong side of 30. Fisher coming off an Achilles, that's a pretty big deal. Schwartz, who knows what his future holds with a back. Speaking of Schwartz, that dude's going to be successful in pretty much anything he does post-football.
Yeah.
Like, I've been following he's my favorite post-Chief in quite some time. That dude's awesome. But really, in terms of the moves they were making, they cleared a bunch of cap space. Then, of course, we have the whole Patrick Mahomes is selfish and doesn't help his team save money, which that was lazy. This has been a very lazy Twitter take, bash Mike Remmers, bash the Chiefs, bash Brett Veach type of day.
Yeah. Because the issue that comes into some of those things, and I think there are places where reasonable minds can disagree, but you've got to be able to differentiate between people who are paying attention and people who are going, why would they bring back Mike Remmers? He was terrible in the Super Bowl. Like, some people are telling on themselves, I think, pretty clearly. And then there are people where, again, I think you can have reasonable disagreements in something if it's, you're something that you've been actually following in a way that doesn't leave you looking foolish at the end. But I digress. We've talked about that some already tonight. And what I really want to get some help from you on is what the 31st pick might be looking like. I know you and Tucker have done a ton of work, a ton of mock drafts and everything, but whenever you do look at this tackle class as a whole, and specifically once you get to kind of the range, whoever that may include for you, of guys that could be there in the late 20s to early 30s, before we get specifics about those guys, how do you feel about that group in terms of the late first round range of tackles in this year's draft?
It's great, man. The Chiefs picked a good time to not only need a wide receiver, need a backup safety, or need some edge help. They picked a pretty good year to really blow up the entire offensive line and restart. I mean, that starts with that tackle class, and there's a lot of good help that could be had at the end of that first round. And like you said earlier, kind of lukewarm on the idea of maybe kneeing at right tackle and then a rookie, two guys who haven't had any NFL snaps. That would kind of surprise me a little bit, but if they do choose to go that route and then kind of let the guys sit for a little bit, they're going to have plenty of options there.
So whenever you get to that group of, right now I have the NFL big board from Tankathon up because I really like Tankathon. But I imagine that you're expecting Sewell, Slater, and Darrisaw to all be off the board well before the Chiefs are probably even within trade-up striking distance. Is that fair?
Yeah, and then also Barrett Tucker will almost surely be gone as well.
So if you look then at that group of Jalen Mayfield, Tevin Jenkins, Samuel Cosme, who may be working into that direction with some of the numbers we've seen. And then you get down to the Alex Leatherwood. Tucker is really high on Liam Eichenberg. Whenever you get to kind of that class of guys, do you see anybody who you think specifically makes a special amount of sense for what the Chiefs do that you like in that range?
In terms of what the Chiefs do, I come back to Eichenberg just because, and this is a sore spot for people, I probably shouldn't bring this up. He kind of reminds me of Eric Fisher a little bit. And I think that if there's a guy in this class who you look back and say this guy has like decade-long, not superstar, but reliable starter written all over him, it's Liam Eichenberg. And I think all the people that kind of hated on Fisher over the years, it was because of that draft slot.
Yep.
If you could have got Eric Fisher with that 31st pick, and he played like that for 8 years or however long he was in Kansas City, people would love it. So Eichenberg's a guy that I like. Leatherwood, kind of iffy on him sticking at tackle long term. Mayfield, people think that the thing with the draft is the guys that start off at right tackle, they can't necessarily just transition right over to left tackle and call it a day. I mean, it is possible, but that's always a risk. But, man, Tevin Jenkins, he's a guy I like a lot. And he's one of those where you don't know if he can handle that transition or if he's a guard long term, but he's been testing great, good athlete, probably the strongest hands in this class. So in terms of the two guys I really like for Kansas City, like you said, Cosme may not even be there. Probably Eichenberg and then Jenkins.
Do you have a feel as to if you think those guys are going to be there, not just from all the mocks you guys have done, but just kind of, I know you've been paying attention to the 30,000-foot view of how guys are being discussed right now. How do you feel about Eichenberg and Jenkins being in striking distance?
Jenkins' draft stock has really been soaring over the past few weeks. And, he was one of the very first scouts that I did and guys that I watched. I think I gave him, a late first, early second grade.
Mm-hmm.
And if he slides into the second round, I'll be surprised, especially after the athletic testing he had. Eichenberg, I think, will definitely be there. He's a guy that could be there into the second round, which if the Chiefs, Brett Veach's MO isn't to trade back. He's a pretty aggressive guy. If he did do that trade back, then he would make sense as a tackle pick.
One thing that you mentioned there about Eric Fisher that I think is absolutely dead on. The Chiefs didn't have their second-round pick that year because it was used in the Alex Smith trade. But if Eric Fisher would have been the first pick of the second round instead of being the first pick of the first round, I think that his career would have started in a much kinder place in terms of expectations. And, Chiefs fans were talking about Geno Smith and, E.J. Manuel and stuff, right? We just were looking for quarterbacks, which, even in retrospect, I understand, even as those guys all pretty much fizzled out. Well, all extremely fizzled out, really. There was really nothing to write home about, even in retrospect. But with Eichenberg, if that is the pick, if they are able to move back, if they are just pulling the trigger at 31, I do wonder about the expectations. Even if we're talking about it at a later draft slot, where just being a solid starter who is there to make things work and keep the trains moving on time and protect Patrick Mahomes, I do wonder if expectations are going to be amplified even for later picks, because we are talking about an offense that we have seen be the best thing in football over these last couple of years, and there's an extra amount of pressure, I would argue, to not stunt that growth. Do you think that Eichenberg, or again, anybody from that kind of class of 4 or 5 guys in that range, will be able to perform at a Eric Fisher-ish level day one? Or how long of a learning process do you think they would need? Do you like the idea of getting a vet on a short-term deal to maybe give those guys a little time to acclimate?
I definitely do think that adding a vet would help. It's just really hard to see the Chiefs kind of push that narrative of protecting Patrick Mahomes. You can build an offensive line around him, but that doesn't mean you have to start 5 guys who are all 22 or whatever. I guess LDT would be out there. The Chiefs can afford to spend some money now and maybe get a guy for 1 year and then hand it over to somebody else. Like a guy like Cosby, he definitely would need some time. He's raw. Mayfield will need a little bit of time. I think Jenkins and Eichenberg definitely, more so Eichenberg, could handle that kind of transition into starting, but also, like you said, there is a lot of pressure in that. And obviously, he would be an upgrade over what the Chiefs saw in the Super Bowl, and that's a start to be better than that because, I mean, you can't be much worse than that performance they had.
Right.
But in terms of protecting Mahomes for an entire 16-17, more than that going into the postseason season, I think Eichenberg could do it. I mean, he has the IQ, strong player, good footwork. His floor is really high, and I think that if he kind of meets that at day one and then stays along that path throughout his career, he can live up to being that 31st pick.
Then there's the path that Verderame was kind of referring to last hour, saying, well, you know, if they do trade for Orlando Brown, that's gonna be the first round pick, right? I mean, and the salary, which makes me a little nervous, as I've said, not even specifically for Orlando Brown, but just as a philosophical thing that I get hung up on. But if they go say, you know what, we're gonna go get Trent Williams. It's also funny you mentioned, Fisher and Schwartz being on the wrong side of 30. So is Trent Williams. He's just still been really good recently. Also something I think that might be worth noting. But if they say, bleep it, we're going to get Trent Williams, we're spending all this money we just freed up, this is happening, and then we're going to still have that first pick there in the 31, what do you think about the class of the guys on the interior? Either be maybe a guard that you think could be truly a needle mover, which is tough to do from that position, or anybody from this class of centers?
Yeah, man, I know that you've probably talked about him a billion gajillion times on this show, but Landon Dickerson's my guy. I mean, he is a fantastic football player. The tape and the talent are both top 20. Like, if he didn't have injury concerns, granted, there's some pretty big injury concerns. Like, the guy has blown his knee out. He's had a multitude of injuries over the years that haven't really been your Sammy Watkins hamstring pull or a minor elbow injury or a sprained ankle. Like, he's had some pretty big stuff happen with him. So, again, he is a definite trade back candidate, I think. If the Chiefs took him at 31, a lot of people would be extremely upset. I'd be okay with it, like cautiously optimistic, just because that dude has only finished, I think, one season wire to wire. Dickerson makes a lot of sense there. Creed Humphrey makes good sense as a trade back candidate into the second round out of Oklahoma. I like him. Man, looking down the board, I think that if the Chiefs pass in that first round or that first 50 pick range, they're going to have to go with depth. It's really hard to find guys. I mean, on the outside, Brady Christensen's about the only guy I think could step in and maybe start from day one, but even like as a third round pick, you need some depth there. But Josh Myers at Ohio State, Deontay Brown at Alabama, Big Ben Cleveland, who's like 350 pounds. That would be interesting to see him with the Chiefs. Quinn Miners from Wisconsin Whitewater, he has been like kind of an enigma throughout the whole draft process because no one really knew about him until he came to the Senior Bowl and just rocked out with the crop top and all that stuff. That'd be a fun pick. So there's options there, but obviously it kind of depends on A, how that board falls, B, what the Chiefs want to do, and then C, I guess, what they do in free agency before that.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I am a little bit, not really even hung up on, but the thing from kind of that chunk of analysis that I do think back on a lot is the idea of, listen, if I was doing a full, like, just mock draft simulation and I was in charge of everything, I would be trying to find a couple of good spots to trade back and try to get a few more picks in that range because the draft can be a crapshoot even whenever you do excellent analysis. There's a lot of factors that end up coming into play. You have more picks in a positive range and you have more chances to hit them. Simple math, I think it makes sense. But you also have to find teams that want to trade up for some reason. And so I'm always hesitant to say, I'd love to be able to see them trade back into the 40s or 50s or whatever and find one of these guys that you would consider to be a real trade back candidate. Because I think ultimately, my guess would be that whenever the 31st pick comes, if they haven't traded up at that point, which we'll see, I'm guessing that they're going to be stuck holding that pick. And so with all that being said, kind of pre-free agency, your hunch right now, your inclination right now would be what?
I really want the Chiefs to go edge with free agency, and that's not necessarily a hunch, but like a Romeo Okwara,
Yeah.
who has experience in the Spags system, that would be interesting. People keep throwing around Carlos Dunlap because he's a big name, but I guess it's that time of year where anytime a big name player gets cut or trade rumors, there's a Chiefs Photoshop within 30 seconds, kind of like the Miami Heat or the Lakers or something like that, where within a couple minutes, people already have Photoshops ready to go. So that'd be interesting. You brought up Villanueva earlier. I thought he was younger than he is. You thought he was older. 32, I mean, that just doesn't fit necessarily well with me. And like he has been around for a while. He's not a huge needle mover, so I'm not huge on that. Kyle Long came out of retirement at guard. He could be an option. I mean, there are guys out there. I think wide receiver is kind of the X factor here in terms of what the Chiefs are going to do, that wild card. Do they go with a Rashad Bateman if he slides all the way down to 31, which would be many people's dreams as a replacement for Sammy Watkins? Do they go with a Kenny Golladay and really break the bank for him? Do they go with a Corey Davis, who I think would be a good fit? Do they somehow end up with Juju? Like, there are tons of options, and having that cap flexibility from the Mahomes deal, potentially a Matthew extension, which I honestly thought was coming today by the looks of Twitter,
So
which
did I.
is kind of it is what it is. That's kind of what we do at this point in the offseason. But needless to say, the Chiefs are going to have enough money. I think they will be somewhat aggressive, and then they'll kind of plug the rest of those holes throughout the draft.
I think it's going to be really, really interesting, man. Because I mean, like you mentioned Okwara, like they're gonna spend somewhere on edge. I don't know if it's going to be draft picks or free agency, but they're going to have to bring in some other. I don't even know if they have to. They're just simply going to bring in another edge presence because that's what the Chiefs do at this point, even with all the draft capital they've spent there over the last couple of years. So if I was going to say, all right, I don't even need you predicting at this point. I don't even need you analyzing at this point. I'm just gonna. Brett Veach has resigned, and you have been named general manager of the Chiefs. What are the next couple of moves? Are you spending the money on edge and then looking offensive line on the draft? I'm giving you the keys.
Yeah, I'm definitely going out and signing Okwara to be that edge number 2. I'm going after Corey Davis to be that Watkins replacement. I mean, to a T. Like, he can get separation. He'll get hurt part of the way through the year, possibly. Like a hand-in-glove fit as that Sammy Watkins replacement. Probably a little more reliable. He's also, I believe, 3 years younger. He's 26. I'm not sure how old Watkins is. So that would make sense. Draft the running back at 31. No, I'm just joking.
Stop it!
I don't want to get booted off Josh's
Stop
show.
it!
I know that's the number one way.
I'll put you on hold and I'll have Beards hang up on you. I'll do it. I'm over this.
Yeah, I know. At 31, that really puts you in a position to go best offensive lineman available, not even best player. I think that really keeping young talent coming through that pipeline is going to be huge, whether it's a center, whether it's a guard, whether it's a tackle. I guess they would have enough. Like, if they got Corey Linsley, Corey Davis, and Okwara, that would be absolutely insane. Now, do they have the cap space to do that? Potentially, I guess they could make that work, but they're only dealing with so much funds for so many years. And, I mean, you're kind of kicking the tin can down the road with the Mahomes deal, which is absolutely fantastic. They set it up that way on purpose. So there are options to be had, but definitely Okwara and Davis, and then probably going offensive line at 31.
Jordan, you're a machine, both in the written form and talking about it all here. Thank you for, I have to imagine, staying up deep past your bedtime as we're doing the late night radio tonight. I appreciate you making time. I appreciate you being the absolute content monster, and I'll let you get back to whoever you're looking at film on next, whoever you're breaking down next, I'll let you get back to it.
Aye, Captain. I'll have something ready at like 6 a.m. for you, like I always do.
Bring me pictures of Spider-Man. I need pictures of Spider-Man, damn it, on my desk, 6 a.m. in the morning. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Jordan Foote. Follow him on Twitter, at Footnoted, FOOTENOTED. Got it in one. Boom! Just like the word footnoted, but there's an E in the middle because his name is Jordan Foote with an E at the end. Follow him on Twitter at Footnoted. Again, the series on Arrowhead Report has been absolutely bonkers. He's not just doing draft stuff. He's got literally every aspect of all this figured out. And at some point, we'll probably have him back on pre-draft to talk about positions other than offensive line. But that's where our head's at right now. So I'm glad we got to talk to Jordan about all of those things and a little bit more. Can I read you a tweet that I just saw, Beards?
No.
Okay. All of our college basketball coverage, although it wasn't included in this segment, but will be probably next and certainly over the weekend. I got a couple of shows, both tomorrow among all of the college basketball action and then Sunday for our Selection Sunday show. It's all provided by Gomers. It's brought to you by Gomers. They're a Kansas City tradition since 1969.
You can read that tweet.
Voted best liquor store in Kansas City. Nobody knows more about fine wine, spirits, and craft beer than Gomers. Also, if you want to go out to KCP&L for the Big 12 championship game tomorrow for Hoop Central, go to powerandlightdistrict.com/basketball for all the information about what they're doing out there and what we're doing out there. And the festivities on the stage, the festivities over in the beautiful T-Mobile Center, and everything going on around all the great restaurants in the KCP&L area at powerandlightdistrict.com/basketball. We'll come back. I'll read that tweet.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Hey investors, have you always wanted to get into the real estate investing game but don't have the money? Crossroads Investment Lending loans money for fix and flips. Locally owned and here to help you fund your real estate project. Call 913-766-2900 or go to kclend.com. That's kclend.com. Crossroads Investment Lending has helped hundreds of KC investors make their real estate deals happen. Call 913-766-2900 or go to kclend.com.
Whether you're looking for energy savings for the winter or updating your home office or man cave, One Stop Decorating is the place for beautiful energy-efficient window coverings. One Stop Decorating offers free in-home or virtual consultations, or you can come into one of their 3 beautiful showrooms to see all the window coverings in their Hunter Douglas galleries. Ask about smart shades that can be controlled by Google, Alexa, and HomeKit. 913-270-0408. 913-270-0408 or onestopdecorating.com. Your home, your windows, your style.
Choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. I played linebacker. I won a state championship. I played Division I ball. I know a thing or two about winning. A winning attitude starts with confidence. My law firm is so confident in what we do that if we take your injury case and we don't win, you don't pay us a dime. So if you've been hurt, call me. My team wants to win for you. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Hey everyone, Les Norman here, host of The Break in the Norm Show. Since '95, I've made KC my home, and since then, I've seen a World Series champion in 15, a Super Bowl champion in 20, and the greatest fans supporting both. It's the people that make me proud to call KC home. You're passionate about your teams and each other. During this crazy time, keep caring for and loving each other. And thank you for making KC not only the greatest sports city, but also the most caring and helpful place to watch sports. Stay healthy, be safe, don't panic, and keep loving each other well.
When do you think about your insurance? Chances are it's when you're paying your bill or filing a claim. At Briar Payne Mead, we always think about your insurance. It's what we do. Buying a car, having a baby, building a home, starting a business. Then it's time to call BPM at 913-681-099 or visit us on the web at bpminsurance.com. Great service and extremely competitive rates from the top-rated companies. Briar Payne Mead, 913-681-099. That's 913-681-099.
Every weekday on Sports Radio 810, tune in to hear Kansas City's favorite local lineup. At 6 a.m., wake up with the Border Patrol with Stephen St. John and Nate Bucati. At 10, it's The Zone with Jason Anderson. Now at 2, get into the program with Soren Petro. And wrap up your day on Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco. Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHB. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
In case you somehow missed that over on Facebook Live, you can fast forward later on to about the hour in mark. You can watch me eat a banana.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'd like to read you this tweet that I wanted to read last segment. It's from Fire Tools with a Z on Twitter. Before my surgery, the anesthesiologist offered to knock me out with gas or a boat paddle. It was an either-or situation.
Or what?
My anesthesiologist offered to knock me out with gas or a boat paddle. It was an either-or situation.
Or what?
Ether.
Or what?
Or an ore.
But we have one of those here.
They responded to themselves saying, I did not write this joke, but the cliche is authentic. I copied it from an email forward sent to me by a baby boomer who is also a dear friend of mine, also appearing in said email. Quote, I did some financial planning and it looked like I can retire at 62 and live comfortably for 11 minutes. I don't know why that one... I'm very tired. I don't know why that one got me so much. Stupid. It's so dumb. Oh, anyway, thanks again to Jordan Foote for joining us last segment. Sneeze emoji, sneeze emoji, sneeze emoji. Does that work in an audio format? Beards, you do transcribe every one of these hours every week, right?
I try to. You know, then it gets to the point where we're all talking over each other, and then I just start smushing the keyboard for letters.
Sure.
That's basically how that goes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But whenever one of us is just sort of like talking straight on, you do go back in after you get home and transcribe it manually the whole way through and then put it up in the podcast description. I mean, I've never checked your work, but I'm pretty sure
I also do like stage commands or whatever. So it's like throws arms up in the air.
Yeah.
Grabs the microphone and wiggles it around. Takes off headphones during the break.
Stuffed dolphin falls on ground after wiggling microphone.
Yeah.
Bends over to pick it up. Hits face on counter trying to pick up dolphin. Now the real thing for
transcripts are like, 500 pages long, but hey.
The real challenge for you is whenever I am saying my blocking, and so you have to have, quote, reaches down, picks up dolphin, and then in brackets, reaches down, picks up dolphin. This is going to be a tough episode for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, just make sure you include
I'll probably go to bed at like 4.
That's why you're up so late every night.
Yeah.
You're not playing Red Dead or Witcher or Mass Effect.
Replaying Mass Effect currently.
I never replayed Mass Effect. That one's an older one, right? You said that one didn't necessarily age super well.
Well, I'm gonna put it on Shot Clock reviews when I finish the third one. We're just gonna do them all at once.
You're blowing through the whole trilogy?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not super long.
Can you give me like a general, not even a review necessarily, but like a refresher? Because I just never got into it. Is it like a alien? Is that the one with the face crabs? Or is that Half-Life? Or
that's
something
Half-Life.
Else? Okay.
Face crabs.
What are they called? Head crabs?
That sounds right.
You can't laugh at me and then not know what they're called. Fraud!
I'm sorry. It was just funny.
Face crabs.
Mass Effect. It's like setting 100.
No, that's an STD. You're right. Head crabs. Well. Murder crabs. Death crabs.
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Yikes.
Big crabs that eat your face.
Non-sexual crabs. Which one is that?
That's Half-Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's what you'll have if you get the wrong kind of crabs.
Mass Effect is set like 150 or so years in the future, where Earth found technology on Mars that allowed them to faster than light travel.
And they finally have fixed cyberpunk to a playable level. You've got to mark that one for Rudy, man. You
don't have to.
You can't rob that one. You can't rob Rudy of that joke.
No, I can. That's
he's
fine.
gonna appreciate that liner so much.
That's okay.
Mark it. Hit the button. Thank you.
Anyway, they find technology that allows them to go faster than light. They find out, oh, hey, there are a lot of other civilizations out here. They join them. Then it turns out there may or may not be a giant race of machines that every 50,000 years come and destroy all sentient life in the galaxy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we're close to that, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
We're about 100. We're about 150 years, maybe not. What 100? How long ago did the first one come out?
2010. No, 2008.
We're about 130 years away from the Great Machine Reckoning. Are they like alien machines?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it called Mass Effect?
Because that's the technology. It's called Mass Effect technology for like faster than light travel. Mass Effect engines, that kind of thing.
Is it a first-person shooter?
No.
Third person?
2007, yes.
Third person shooter.
Yes.
I think I'm still just thinking of Half-Life.
Half-Life.
Yeah.
I've played a little bit of Half-Life 2, but that's it. All I know is that the third one is going to come out after Winds of Winter does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about how that's going.
And after Cyberpunk is playable. After that new patch comes out.
So mean.
I mean, yeah, I am. I mean,
I'm
that's
almost done with the second game though, so I'm about to jump into the third one.
Wow. I looked at the Twitch chat and was and I was very surprised by what I saw, which is that crab emotes have filled the chat. Just crab emotes everywhere. Which seems fair, seems reasonable, seems good, in fact.
I hope they're at least the non-sexualized ones.
I mean, listen, different strokes, I guess. I don't find them to be sexual. But I don't want to, yuck anybody's yums, I guess. I haven't had crab in an incredibly long time.
We had some for Christmas.
Like, wrapped up, like as a gift.
I mean, listen, for me, that would be a good present.
Absolutely. I can see, I think, honestly, if you would have gotten a plate with a cooked crab on it with just a bow on top, I think you would have been thrilled.
Yes.
I think that would have been a great gift for you.
Yes. We had, my family, I was hanging out with Rebecca's family for Christmas this year, and my parents and my aunt and uncle and all of them had crab for Christmas, and it was king crab, like, the legit good stuff.
Not to be confused with kink crab, which is incredibly different and is a part of the sexual crab sort of genre.
Anyway,
don't anyway, mate.
It was a very good joke. Anyway,
Thank you.
After that, my aunt actually saved me some, and I managed to have it later, and it's unbelievably good. Very spiny though. Little pokey.
The transcript of this segment is going to have a lot about my sort of minor facial expressions as I'm being deeply challenged by many of your word choices. Anyway. I actually don't think we got to the Mahomes contract restructuring, by the way. Jordan mentioned it last segment. It's come up a couple times over the course of the show, but I haven't given you, the update and the take on it yet, which honestly I think goes to show two things. One is that, God, we have a lot of things that we've talked about. Just a lot has been happening. But two...
Crabs.
Or what? No, I screwed it up. That's not... and two, that this really... in fact, before I even give you all of the elements of this that I think are interesting and important, I'm going to tell you what Matt Derrick tweeted today. Patrick Mahomes restructuring his contract is something to view as routine business. His contract is designed to do just that, to push cap impact down the road and free space. It will be breaking news the season the two sides don't restructure the contract. It's just really good analysis by Matt. He's exactly right. The whole, construct of the guaranteed mechanisms and the amount of the base salary that's going to be signing bonus, all of that stuff was built in to give the Chiefs the parachute whenever they need it. And honestly, also, because it continues this way for a decade, it's not something that's going to come back and bite them in 2 years. This isn't kicking the can down the road. It's one of the advantages of having a decade-long contract. You get a lot of years to play with. And then honestly, let's say Patrick Mahomes plays football for 15 more years, okay? Let's just cut it off at 15 because it's a decently sort of middling number. He'll get an extension at year 5 that will take him through 15 in all likelihood. And then whenever he gets to the end, he'll do what Tom Brady did today, where Tom Brady got a 1-year extension that I believe voids out over the course of 4 years in total. So his cap hit will be lower because they're going to carry out some of that cap hit in years to come after he's no longer under contract. And now you could say, well, is that good business that you're going to have you're going to be paying your quarterback after he's retired or playing for someone else or whatever? No. I mean, that's not ideal, but to be doing that for a few $1 million several years, a decade into the future, that is not a very painful loan that you're taking out on your future. Those are pretty easy payments to be making. Hopefully, 3 or 4 or 5 Super Bowls down the line. The specifics of what the Chiefs got with Mahomes today from Adam Schefter. Patrick Mahomes is expected to do what Tom Brady did today. The Chiefs are expected to convert Mahomes' $21.7 million roster bonus to a signing bonus in the coming days, which would save Kansas City $17 million against the cap per league sources.
How many crabs do you think they could buy with that?
Patrick Mahomes' pending contract restructure that will save the Chiefs about $17 million against the cap in KC will allow KC to do some free agent shopping. So Schefter, I think, is implying he probably knows a couple of things in there as well. And that's just essentially spreading out the cap hit. And that, again, is the long-term advantage of all of this, is it's stretching out and spreading this cap hit over so many years and looking so many years into the future that they're going to keep doing this, where they're going to, in 4 years, they're going to be paying, I actually don't know this for a fact, I should be careful. Let's say 3 years, I'd be even more confident. 3 years from now, they're going to be paying off a little bit of the money that they're already dealing with this year, right? Or that they've kicked back from this year. But do you know what they're going to be doing in 3 years?
Signing Jameis Winston.
Moving, because crabs.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you that one. 3 years in the future, whenever they're wrapping up with what they moved out of his contract from this year, they're going to be moving some of that, spreading that out over the next 3 years after that. It's going to be pretty flexible for a pretty good long time. So it's something that I think we'll grow to appreciate only more and more over the next several years whenever we truly do see how much space Mahomes' contract is able to create. And look, if they end up in, I was going to say 2025, like that's way deep into the future. That's basically tomorrow. If in 2035, a year that whenever the face crabs come to kill us all or whatever, if in 2035 they are finally dealing with paying Patrick Mahomes $20 million, but he doesn't play for them anymore, whenever the NFL is on its 15th $72 billion TV contract, which, by the way, those are going to keep growing.
In a 35 games regular season.
Right, also true. That Mahomes cap hit, you're gonna have no regrets whatsoever.
Double headers.
Because you're probably going to have multiple Lombardis in your trophy case. You are probably going to have that be a lower percentage of the cap than you might expect as of right now, because of how it will the cap will continue to go up and will continue to grow in that way. They're going to continue to move that money. And if the Chiefs have, I promise you, if I'm talking into the same exact, Electro Voice RE20 microphone in 20 years, which is a chance of, this Beards nods. If I'm talking to this exact same microphone with the same aggravated kitten hanging on the microphone 20 years from now, and the Chiefs have the season the Patriots had last year, where they're signing, washed up, about to retire Trevor Lawrence as his career is wrapping up, and they go 8-8 and they miss the playoffs for the first time in 20 years, I will not sit here and complain about how the Chiefs dug their own grave and then laid in it 20 years after spreading out Mahomes' money in a way that allowed them to go sign Trent Williams and win another Super Bowl and go to 5 consecutive ones, winning 3. I will not complain about that 15 or 20 years into the future. I can make that promise right now. And we'll still be waiting on that Cyberpunk update. Live coverage of the Big 12 Tournament Championship Week is brought to you by Creative Planning, CBD American Shaman, 23rd Street Brewery, and Gomers. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, we'll wrap up the week here on Almost Entirely Sports.
At JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already.
Harry's Razors just came out with their sharpest blades ever. But unlike other razor companies, they're not charging you more. Harry's new sharper blades are still as low as $2 each. You heard me right, just $2. How do they do it? Harry's owns a German factory that's been honing razor blades for 100 years. They source their steel from Sweden and own the entire manufacturing process, from research and development to the factory floor. It allows them to keep the prices lower. How confident are they? A 100% quality guarantee. You'll see it at harrys.com. Blades are even delivered directly to you. No getting unmasked and standing in line. They're delivered straight to your door, with or without a subscription. And right now, Harry's has a great offer for my listeners. New customers get $5 off a Harry's trial set when you use the promo code PETRO, P-E-T-R-O, at harrys.com. That's a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and travel cover, all for just $3, plus free shipping. That's razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and travel cover, all for $3, shipped to you for free. Only at harrys.com, only with promo code PETRO.
How does A1 Mortgage beat those big bank rates and still offer no out-of-pocket closing costs? Because A1 Mortgage is from Little Old Lease Summit, and we pay Little Old Lease Summit rent. You know who pays rent for those big banks? You do. A1 Mortgage has been servicing the entire Kansas City area from Little Old Lease Summit since 2007. We've always been your hometown mortgage lender that offers the lowest interest rates. When it's time for your family to purchase or refinance a home, call A1 Mortgage and Little Old Lease Summit now and have your loan approved in about an hour and closed in about 10 days. 816-822-8888. That's 816-822-8888. Download our app or apply online at a1mortgage.com. A1 Mortgage, 816-822-8888 or a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply, subject to change without notice.
With its dedication to bringing wellness to Kansas City, CBD American Shaman is excited to announce the opening of Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness at 117th and Row in Camelot Court. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness offers medical aesthetics and IV nutrient therapy, and there is a full-service CBD American Shaman store there too. Start your journey to wellness with Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. Call 913-227-9150 or go to shamantotalwellness.com. Life is better with a feather.
A KC tradition since 1957, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef, which has been proven to be naturally more tender and flavorful than other brands. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. This process provides a wonderful aroma and delicious flavor that cannot be duplicated by any other cooking method. Hereford House, Leewood, Independence, Shawnee, and Zona Rosa.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Do you want a quote on that, by the way?
Sure.
From Deadspin?
Yeah.
Legend died in 2008 of January when, according to director Christopher Nolan, there we go.
Director.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
I think I said last night that I love the liners that make me laugh at my own jokes, but I also love the liners where I beat my past self to the same exact noise and word. Because you played that liner. What?
I continue your thing.
Okay.
On that.
You played that liner there, and as you said, directed for Christopher Nolan, I myself, March 2021, Josh went director to myself with the mic off, and then past Josh went director, and it really just it's nice to know that I haven't changed that much over the course of this show.
I don't remember when this was, probably a year or so ago, just for kicks. I had nothing to listen to on my ride back home, so I downloaded one of the Game of Thrones podcasts that we had done when that was still going on.
Yeah,
and I made the exact same joke in the exact same tone in the exact same time on one of those podcasts.
Yep.
And just instantly I just went, dang it!
Yeah.
It was funny though.
Yeah.
It was a good joke.
It basically
I don't remember what it was, but it was a good joke.
It basically at this point I think just infers that a really good AI could do this show for us. Like if you just took at this point, thousands of hours of audio that we have of this show, and you just ran it through a good AI, and you could get, all the different little intonations of our voices, and it would learn the words you were saying and our sense of humor and all of that.
a good AI could just do this show for us. It's don't draft the running back, direct for United Imbibits and Vince McMursh, and it's just basically
NBA.
I think the exaggerated version for you is NBA stuff at every turn and mispronunciations, Game of Thrones and defending Cyberpunk.
Yep.
You might have the easiest like exaggerated character to create because you've just got some staples, man. You might be a knuckleballer, but damn, that knuckleball's good. It's just a good pitch. It's just a good pitch. The Twitch has gotten very.
Oh no.
The Twitch has just gotten very, very crab heavy and very intense. Our very own Tucker D. Franklin had tweeted, or he commented on the Twitch that his grabs are V-sexualized, and then he said crabs. Oh no. So now Tucker is talking about sexual crabs as well. Tucker then later said, I would like it on the record that my grabs are indeed not V-sexual, but my crabs are. Chaotic Warrior said, noted. Air Faded responded to that with footnoted. And that also made me very happy. Just good stuff. Just good stuff happening on the Twitch right now. During the break, though, you started to tell me something that you did, Beards, and I told you to save it till we came back.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Pick it up.
I, a couple weeks ago, went and had the Detroit-style pizza the Pizza Hut's done.
That has shown up on commercials over sporting events all the time.
Yes.
It is essentially a super thick crust pizza.
It's a little bit thicker
than a thick crust, sure, but not Chicago, whatever.
No.
Thick crust pizza, cheese, pepperoni, sauce on top.
Yep, and crispier edges.
Right.
Also important.
Yes, yes.
It's very good, by the way. It's
pretty
tasty.
Spoiler alert, you said you went back for it a second time. That is stunning to me. Because you don't reach out of your food shell very often.
I like crispier crust.
I understand it, but it's very surprising to me. Not only that you tried it once, you've gone back to it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So
like I said, it's pretty good. Anyway, I called today, and I was like, hey, I want a Detroit-style pizza. I want the pepperoni or whatever. And they're like, well, here's the thing.
Oh, no.
I don't know if we can really do that anymore because we don't have the sauce for it. So I went,
Is it a different sauce?
I don't know. That's another question that I had that I didn't ask.
Is it like a chunkier sauce?
No. It's just normal. To me, it was just like normal sauce or whatever. But anyway.
Okay.
I was like, well, that's okay. I was going to ask you for light sauce anyway. So perfect. I'll order it anyway. But you know what? Still pretty good, even without sauce.
Sorry. That's not how I thought that story was going to end at all. Wait, so...
But they just didn't have sauce for whatever reason.
Okay, so you were trying to get...
Whenever I got there, they were like, oh, yeah, they're like running out of sauce freaking everywhere. So, again, I don't know if it's different sauce or not. But it's still tasty. I've got half of it at home. I'm going to go eat it
So what... Whenever you said, that's okay, I was going to ask for light sauce anyway, what did they give you when you ordered it that way?
Oh, just without sauce on top.
Oh, with no sauce?
Yeah, because they didn't have any.
But they definitely had
normal
pizza sauce, though, right?
Probably.
Huh. I mean, it's got to be a different sauce.
I don't know what, though.
The commercials make it look like it's almost kind of like a chunkier, like, almost like a spaghetti sauce. Like a spaghetti.
Maybe just thicker?
Yeah. As opposed to maybe their, base layer sauce is a runnier that you can kind of ladle around pretty easily.
Smear around a little better.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, is that it is thicker in some way.
Yeah, it's still pretty good.
But today what you ate, and this is more Beards to me, is you just basically asked Pizza Hut to make cheesy bread with pepperoni.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to be ashamed of that in any way. It's really on brand.
It was tasty.
I mean, if I saw somebody walking into the studio holding a box from Pizza Hut and it had piping hot, fresh pepperoni cheesy bread, I wouldn't turn them away. I would ask how they got in, and it's 11 p.m., sir or ma'am. Our doors are not open. Who are you? But if they were like in a Pizza Hut, employee outfit, I would still be a little confused. But I would eat it, Yeah. I'd be down.
It's pretty good.
Interesting. There was another food thing that I feel like came up recently that I wanted to ask you about or something. I'm wondering what it was. Does that ring any bell for you whatsoever?
No.
All right. Well, then I don't know. If I didn't mention it, then I have fully
Crabs.
lost the plot. It was not crabs. I can say confidently it was not crabs. It may have been Snickers based. Because it's Friday, we got to mention it. Here are two things to mention at the end of the show. So first of all,
be careful.
you got
Just check your blood sugar. Just make sure you're okay.
Hold on, let me check my blood sugar. Hey. Oh, Beers, I got two questions. One is, can you find out if 69 is too low of a blood sugar? Also, is it nice? That is too low. It's too low. My mom has diabetes, which makes this story funnier to me. There is a guy calling a high school basketball game, and some members of one of the teams took a knee during the national anthem. And as this webcast play-by-play call was being broadcast still, his mic was not off.
I think they were expecting it to be off.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. And he said kind of one of those big no-no words followed by a rude word that you would not want to say on the radio. But then there's the big, bad, racist one. Like the big one. And he ended up putting out an apology dictating that he is not racist, by the way.
He has a wife. He has kids.
Kids, sure. And he said that his blood sugar was, I think, spiking. And I will say that I'm pretty sure that the first time I heard my mom cuss, she probably had a blood sugar thing going on, but it was like the S word. And I don't think...
Shut up?
It was shut up. I don't think you could use your diabetes for this racist play-by-play guy. I don't think that one's going to work. Have a Snicker. We'll be back on Monday. Bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Briscoe on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This Sunday, tune in to hear the brackets revealed first right here on